What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 6 p.m. Chapter 101 The Letter of Waking Up. When Shin woke up again, he was in a hospital room in a castle, and Nami and Vivi were chatting beside his bed. This time he woke up different from the previous times. He could feel that his body had improved, and he would not fall asleep after being awake for a while like before. He simply lifted the quilt and was about to get up and move around, but his upper body suddenly felt cold. Where are my clothes? Great, you're finally awake. The two people who were originally chatting with their backs to the bed turned around to check when they heard the movement, and suddenly spoke in surprise. Nami also explained. The doctor said that not only did you have 5-day sickness, but you also had a lot of bruises on your upper body and some frostbite on your face, so he took off your shirt for easier treatment. Mister, did the ninja fight with anyone else? Luffy and the others won't watch the patient fight, right? Rubbing his face, Shin probably guessed what was going on. The faint pain that came from his body when he woke up in the snowy mountain was indeed not an illusion. Hey, kid. You're recovering well. The door opened with a bang, and Dr. Kuleha came in while drinking wine generously. You must be the doctor who saved me, right? What? Are you asking me the secret to staying young? Old lady, do you have bad ears? Boom. Kuleha came to Shin at a speed invisible to the naked eye and kicked the disrespectful hedgehog into the wall. I am a 130-year-old boy who is in my youth, and I am an ungrateful brat. Stop lying on the wall. Seeing that you are a patient, I am restraining myself. The letter flowed down from the wall like a pool of liquid. He rubbed his nose, came to Kureha and stretched out his right hand. Sorry, I was rude just now. My name is Uchiha Nobu, and I am a ninja. Thank you for saving me, old man. Old beautiful beauty, Kuleha nodded with satisfaction and immediately told him. The treatment of this disease originally takes 10 days, but after taking my medicine and your good health, it can be cured in almost 2 days. 2 days. I feel like I'm recovering well now. We have very important things to do. We can't wait here for 2 days. Call out. A scalpel rubbed Shin's ear and was deeply embedded in the wall behind him. Don't even think about disobeying the doctor's orders, kid. Although he was convinced that the doctor who saved him could not turn around and kill him, Shin couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. This mother-in-law was probably more than just a simple doctor. It is impossible to stay here for 2 days. After all, Alabasta's current situation is unknown. He quietly opened the Sharingan. Illusion. This is not a technique. He just needs to make a fake letter, lie on the bed, and then sneak away quietly. Shish. He secretly motioned to Nami and Vivi to be quiet, and quietly walked to the door of the room. Call out. Another scalpel flew out. Kid, where are you going? Hey, I'm going out for a walk, it better be so. Little girl over there, did Wapple have a set of keys with him when you brought him here? Key? After hearing this, Nami took it out from his 4th-dimensional pocket. This one. This is it. Without waiting for Nami to react, Kuleha snatched the key directly, then waved and left. Just think of it as your medical expenses. After Kuleha left, Shin put on his own clothes and actually went out for a walk. He saw an unconscious big mouth monster tied up at the door, and Zoro was sleeping next to him. Nami and Vivi followed him, looking curious when they saw the letter. Nami explained aloud. This is the enemy you encountered while you were unconscious. It's a demon fruit power. What's that, Tanuki? At the gate of the castle, Luffy and Usopp were having a snowball fight with Chopper. His name is Chopper, and he's a reindeer. I'll tell you his story later. Nami corrected the misspelling of the letter. Anyway, he's a poor guy who ate devil fruit. Devil fruit? Tanuki fruit? They said he is a reindeer, and he was originally a deer. The devil fruit he ate should be regarded as the Renren fruit. Fortunately, the deer ate it, and when the people ate it, they became the fruits of human beings. Be polite, he was the one who cured your illness. I thought it was the old man just now. Call out. A scalpel flew towards me. I thought it was the doctor who treated me just now. Then let me also go and thank this civet doctor. Shin waved his hand to indicate that the two didn't have to follow them all the time. He was not that weak yet, and strode towards the 3 people having a snowball fight. Luffy was the first to notice that Shin had woken up, and immediately threw all the snowballs at Usopp. Asshole rubber man. Then Luffy flew directly onto Shin. Great. You're finally awake. Okay, get off me first. Shin struggled to pull Luffy off his body, but Luffy refused to let go. He could only carry the captain on his back and walk to Chopper. At this time, Chopper was in human animal form, which was a petite human form. He was a little scared when he saw this patient and wanted to step back. After all, Shin was still a stranger to him. Are you Dr. Chopper? Shin bent down and stretched out his right hand with a kind smile on his face. I am Uchiha Nobu, a ninja. Hey, you actually called me doctor. Even if you say that, I won't be happy, you bastard. Chopper did not shake hands with Shin, but turned around with a red face. Soon he thought of Shin's self-introduction just now. You just said you were a ninja? Really, let me tell you, Shin is amazing. Speaking of this, Luffy became more energetic, got off the letter carrier, and counted on his fingers. Shin can clone, Earth style, fly, breathe fire and water, and can control such a big water dragon. There is also a thunder and lightning monster as big as the last time I saw it. Luffy said with excitement, gesticulating as he spoke, which made Chopper so excited that he read the letter with bright eyes. Upon seeing the letter, he also smiled slightly and prepared to demonstrate to Dr. Chopper. How about this? This is the transformation technique. There was no choice but to take the two childish ghosts up together. As the height climbed, several people saw the Sakura flower pirate flag planted on the castle. A burst of not-so-thick smoke dissipated, and there were 4 identical Shadow Clone beside Shin. Shadow Clone number 1 formed the seal first. Really? Please give me more advice in the future, Dr. Chopper. Chopper, who was riding on his neck, nodded vigorously. Then several Shadow Clones showed Chopper a variety of low-power but very fancy-looking ninjutsu. Not only Chopper, but also Luffy and Usopp on the side had their eyes shining. Shadow Clone technique. Chopper stepped forward and carefully touched the Shadow Clone with his hoof. After discovering that it was exactly the same, he looked at the letter with excitement. By the way, Chopper has agreed to be our partner. Flamba, Luffy seemed to have finally remembered, laughing and saying to the letter. After another burst of smoke, Shadow Clone number 1 transformed into Chopper. Boom. Different from Chopper's shy and happy expression, Shadow Clone Chopper had an arrogant look on his face and said with his big teeth. Really a ninja? So awesome, transformation technique. Finally, Shin prepared to use the ultra-light heavy rock technique to take Chopper to fly around in the sky. Luffy and Usopp clamored to fly too. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 102 The Joining of Chopper. The addition of Chopper is not sudden. Under Usopp's explanation, Shin also understands the ins and outs. Shin was unconscious for about half a day after returning to the castle, and it was already night. While Shin was in a coma, Luffy originally wanted to invite Kuleha to be the ship's doctor, but she was rejected. Turning around, Luffy stared at Chopper again. In Luffy's eyes, Chopper, a guy who can transform in 3 stages, is so cool. Luffy's infectious energy is very powerful. In addition, the 3 of them had helped Chopper once before, so they became familiar with each other in half a day. Nami heard about Chopper's story and the identity of the doctor from Kuleha, and relayed these to Luffy, who strengthened her determination to recruit Chopper into the team. Chopper has always felt inferior to his blue nose and identity as a talking reindeer. He has always wanted to contact humans but was afraid to do so. When Luffy invited him for the first time, Chopper refused. Luffy suddenly had a whim and made his face into weird shapes. Look, I'm a monster too. Usopp thought of what the letter would call him, and he always called himself a long-nosed monster. The 3 of them played like this all afternoon, which completely opened up Chopper's heart. Chopper agreed to join in, and they went to sea together after Shin woke up. By the way, you don't know yet. Flying in the air, Usopp suddenly said to Chopper. Shin is also a red-eyed monster. He also had a title before, called the Burning Red-Eyed Monster. Don't give me a strange title, you long-nosed monster. Shadow Clone, who was dragging Usopp along, understood instantly and directly choked Long Nose. Oh, I'm going to be killed. While the 4 of them were fighting outside, Kuleha had already taken the key to the weapons warehouse in the castle, followed by Sanji, whom she had attracted. Why do you need so many cannons? Stop talking nonsense and move quickly. With a hint of relief and sadness in her eyes, Kuleha directed Sanji to move all the cannons in the arsenal to the roof and put some powdery stuff inside. Then she turned to Sanji and said, Next, I have to go back to the room to deal with some things. No matter what happens outside, I will not come out to check. I will relay these words to the little hedgehog, did you hear me? Okay, I get it. What a duplicitous old man. Call out. A scalpel flew over from nowhere, what a good doctor. Shin wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Damn it, how powerful is this old woman? Is she always staring at him? At this time, everyone gathered at the gate of the castle. Of course, it was impossible to really wait for 2 days, and they would definitely sneak away quietly. The words conveyed by Sanji confirmed that Kuleha and the others left by default, and now there was only one thing left. Do we really not have to go and say goodbye? Vivi said hesitantly. Dr. Kuleha must be regarded as Shin's savior. Nami stepped forward and held her shoulders. Forget it, they should be hugging each other and crying now, after all, they have been together for so long. Ah, Zoro listened and said, I think I heard crying. Really? Why does it sound like a scream to me? Did your illness burn out your head? How could there be a scream when you say goodbye? Ah. Everyone, get on the sled, we're going down the mountain. Stop. Nani. *7 I saw Chopper transforming into a deer form, pulling a sleigh and running out of the castle, hurriedly asking everyone to get on the car. Behind him, Kuleha chased Chopper with a bunch of weapons, and kept telling Chopper to stop. The friends hurriedly got into the car, but only Shin felt something was wrong. If this old woman really wanted to stop her, how could she not stop Chopper? He separated a shadow clone and turned it into stone and stayed here, and the main body followed the team. Under the moonlit night, all members of the Straw Hats crowded into a small sled. Nobu sat at the back of the car, grabbing Luffy's hand and hanging him on the back of the car like a kite. The cable was so small that it looked like a sleigh flying in the sky from a distance, which caused the villagers to exclaim. Perhaps out of fear of being captured, Chopper led everyone into the forest below without stopping before stopping. He quietly looked at the country he had lived in for more than 10 years, and felt a little regretful that he could not say goodbye properly. Kuleha kicked a stone in the snow. Come out, little spiky-headed brat. Shadow Clone released the transformation with an awkward smile on his face, and as expected he was still seen through. Is this really an okay way to say goodbye? Hey, I don't like anyone who cries. Even though she said this, there were already tears in Kuleha's eyes. To her, Chopper was like her own son. You happen to be able to breathe fire, right? Come with me. Kuleha led the Shadow Clone to the roof, which was filled with cannons pointing toward the sky. Fire-style dragonfire. The linear flames connected all the cannons in series, causing them to fire almost simultaneously. Boom boom boom. Okay boy, go turn on all the lights for me. Shadow Clone rushed to turn on the lights again. Under the light, the snowflakes in the sky turned pink. On this island where snow falls all year round, sakura flowers bloom. Is this your farewell gift? No, it was a gift from that silly boy's father and I. The miraculous sakura flower blooming on Winter Island is such an interesting idea. He's just a quack. Kuleha looked at the foot of the mountain silently, and her powerful sense of sight allowed her to sense the location of Chopper. Go ahead, silly son. Chopper, who was at the bottom of the mountain, had already burst into tears, looking at the gift given to him by his adoptive father and mother with tears streaming down his face. Everyone returned to the melee, and in order to celebrate Shin's awakening and Chopper's joining, they decided to hold a grand party. Of course, before that, they had to fish out a duck that was frozen into an ice sculpture from the lake. Karu, how could you become like this? Vivi worriedly put a blanket on Karu, and Karu shivered and screamed. Ha ha ha, you slipped down accidentally, you were clumsy. Shut up. Mr. Bushido. He said he saw Zoro disappearing while swimming in the lake, so he jumped in out of worry and froze. It's all your fault. Sanji punched the green algae head, avenging Vivi's Karu. Nami looked at Chopper in surprise. Can you understand what animals say? Because I am an animal? It's amazing. He understands both medical skills and the language of animals. Silly. Silly, I have nothing to be happy about if you praise me so much. I'm obviously very happy. Everyone was watching Chopper's cute show, but there was a clanking sound coming from the kitchen. This is the last chocolate ice cream, it's mine. I obviously got it first. What are you talking about? I made a reservation last night. I'm the captain. I've been busy on the island all day, and I want to eat too. I haven't eaten in days. It's mine. Don't try to show me your captain's arrogance at a time like this. Believe it. I want to eat it too. I'm the captain. Usopp was thrown out, but the sound in the kitchen hadn't stopped yet. Too late, my stupid captain. I'm a patient, you two bastards. I haven't eaten for half a day. I'm hungry too. I'm still sick. The long-nosed monster has nothing to say and is out. I eat. I'm the captain. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 103 Strange Shemale. After the ice cream incident, the party officially started. Of course, it was impossible to let Luffy eat freely, otherwise everything on the ship would be gone overnight. Under the leadership of Luffy, the strangeness of going to sea for the first time quickly dissipated, and Chopper even learned the strange dance of inserting chopsticks into his nostrils. The ship was upgraded from 2 idiots to 3 idiots. Thinking that he would be in trouble if he didn't eat, Shin swept away all the desserts in the kitchen and dragged Sanji to make a lot of them and pile them in front of him. Seeing Chopper's sideways glances, Shin took a marshmallow and gave it to him. Chopper immediately fell in love with the sweet taste. Then the two shared ice cream, mousse cake, shortbread, strawberry pudding. Seeing that there was another sweet party on board, Shin's eyes were full of relief. If Nami hadn't stopped him, Nobu would have stuffed the little guy who just got on the boat with sweets. When the atmosphere of the banquet was in full swing, Shadow Clone flew back with a large bag of things. Without disturbing everyone, the letter quietly came to the stern of the ship. The first thing that caught my eye was Wobble. He woke up once and was told that hypnosis passed him by. His munch fruit looked quite practical, at least it could be used to make weapons. Although I haven't decided who to give it to, I'll keep it for now. Using the number 2 scroll to take out the fruit ability, the fruit from the banquet instantly turned into a dark purple fruit covered with piranha mouth patterns. Munch fruit. As for what to do with the Wobble after the fruit is taken out, naturally, they stabbed him twice in the neck and threw him back into the sea. In addition to Wobble, there is another thing in the package, medical books, which are full of medical books. Shadow Clone left the phone number to Kuleha, and Kuleha stuffed a lot of medical books for Shadow Clone, brought it back. Chopper also had a small school bag of his own. He originally thought he hadn't had time to get it, but he found it on the sleigh. The love of an old mother is really not frank. After saying this, Shin subconsciously looked around and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that there was no flying scalpel. In addition to these things, Dalton also told Shadow Clone News that a man named Ace is looking for Luffy, and he will wait for Luffy in Alabasta for 10 days. Shin. What are you doing? It's time to drink, come here. For the new chopper and the letter of recovery. Cheers. Is it really possible to catch something so fast? Usopp sat on the edge of the boat, holding a fishing rod in his hand and asking a soul question. I don't know. After all, we don't even have bait. Luffy also sat on the edge of the boat holding a fishing rod, looking sad. Vivi walked over curiously, smiled and asked, Luffy, Usopp, did you catch anything? Karu. Ga. Boom. Don't use Karu as bait. There is a thick smoke ahead, do you want to avoid it? Sitting in the special seat, Shin asked. It was he who controlled the direction of the ship at this time. This was already the 5th day after leaving Sigum Island. After fully recovering, Shin took over the driving rights of the ship. Sitting on the bow of the boat all day long, using water style to help the melee accelerate, Nami was responsible for correcting the direction. Nami on the 2nd floor observed carefully and said, no need, just go in. That's water vapor formed by submarine volcanoes, it's only a little hotter. Receive. Chopper said curiously, are there also volcanoes under the sea? So amazing, as the letter accelerated, the melee rushed into the steamy sea. Everyone on the boat felt the heat. Luffy, who was fishing, shouted. A fish is hooked. Really or not, there's nothing on the fish hook? The melee broke out of the range of the water vapor, and the two finally saw clearly what they had caught. I saw a she-male in strange clothes hanging on the fishhook staring at the two of them. With a click, the simple fishing rod in Luffy's hand broke, and the she-male on the hook shouted. Save the slave family is a landlubber. Shin stopped accelerating in time, and Luffy quickly caught the she-male who had just fallen into the water. Just in time, Shin also needed to recover, so he sat cross-legged on the special seat. At this time, everyone was on the deck except Sanji and Shin. Sanji was in the kitchen trying to figure out how to survive until Alabasta with the remaining food. The ladyboy sitting cross-legged on the deck solemnly thanked everyone. Thank you. This kindness will never be forgotten. Also, can you give me some hot soup? No, we are starving. Hey, you look so cute, I like it so much. The ladyboy stared at Vivi on the 2nd floor again, showing a pervert expression. I really want to bite you. Vivi almost cried when she saw her, it was really pervert. Then Luffy asked him why he couldn't swim, and he unsuspectingly said that he was demon fruit power. He was also about to demonstrate his abilities to everyone, so he slapped Luffy on the face, but Luffy grabbed his wrist. At this time, Luffy's face was a little unhappy, and he didn't attack at the first sign. What are you doing? This is a prerequisite for activating the ability. The she-male smiled awkwardly, stretched her palm forward, and touched Luffy's face gently. Of course that's okay. I saw him touching his cheek with his right hand, and instantly transformed into Luffy. This is not a joke. Hey ha 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 ha, are you scared? Are you scared? This is the slave's clone fruit ability. Just touch it with your left hand to restore it to its original state. Then he touched Nami, Zoro, Usopp, and Chopper on the deck and started a cross-dressing show. As long as you touch the other person's face with your right hand, you can become whoever you want like this. It was indeed exactly the same, but when he changed to Nami, he stopped because no one showed any surprise. Don't you think this ability of the slave family is amazing? Luffy frowned. No, Usopp also had an expressionless face. The letter can do it too. Chopper raised his hand and added, the letter will change with the clothes. The ladyboy lowered his head in deep shock, but he was not discouraged. He kept Nami's appearance and lifted up his clothes. Even the inside is exactly the same. Wow, boom. The she-male was knocked out by Nami with one punch, and she was recovering with her eyes closed in the special seat. Chakra's letter seemed to feel something, and he unconsciously said, please do not ascend to the original body if you act as a clone. Of course, this incident has nothing to do with him. Although his ability failed to attract everyone, he got along very well with the trio of idiots on the ship. After a while, they were hooking up and calling each other friends. Chopper was pitiful because he was not tall enough and had to be hung up. The she-male couldn't bear the turmoil in her heart, and always wanted to shock a few people, so she started to perform other abilities. His fruit ability can also be stored. As long as he touches anyone, he can change it at will, and he will perform one after another. Until a certain face appeared, Vivi was shocked. It was a slightly majestic middle-aged man. Among other things, he is Vivi's father and the king of Alabasta, Cobra. Adds by Bid Gear Chapter 104. The captured she-male because Shin was restoring chakra, the speed of the melee couldn't help but slow down. A power outer steamer with pink as the main color caught up with the melee. Nami noticed the strange ship in time, pointed at it and said to the strange human demon. A ship is coming. Is it your ship? Oh, it's time to say goodbye so soon. Ah, *3. Don't be sad, there is no such thing as a feast that lasts forever. But don't forget one thing. The depth of friendship has nothing to do with the length of time you spend together. After that, the ladyboy jumped up from the melee and returned to his ship, still waving his hands to say goodbye to everyone. Okay. Let's set sail. Yes. Mr. 2, Lord Bentham. The speed of the outer ship was very fast, and it was beyond Luffy's reach. Only then did everyone realize his identity. He is Mr. 2 Bentham. Vivi on the 2nd floor spoke in panic. Luffy asked. Don't you recognize his face, Vivi? Vivi lowered her head in disappointment. I have never seen the combination of Mr. 2 and Mr. 1. I don't know their abilities. But I heard that Mr. 2 is a tall she-male who speaks like a girl. He likes to wear a swan coat and has the way of a she-male written on the back. Luffy, Zoro, Usopp and the three of them complained together. You should have recognized it, in his performance just now. I saw my father's face. What did he do with my father's face? With that said, Vivi hurried down from the second floor and found a letter on the special seat. Mr. Ninja, can you catch up with the ship just now? Concentrating on recovering Chakra's letter, he still didn't know what happened and looked at Luffy with doubtful eyes. Until he saw the captain nodding, Shin rushed towards the powered outer ship far ahead. Earth-style super light heavy rock technique. Wait a moment. The letter suddenly came to their boat and Sharingan had quietly opened it. Mr. 2 thought Shin was reluctant to leave him and was so moved that he burst into tears. Little hedgehog. I thought you were a cold guy, staying at the bow of the ship and saying nothing. I didn't expect you to be so reluctant to leave the slave family. I'm so touched. Woohoo. The letter went up and kicked his tear-stained face and said coldly. You kid. Are you an enemy? As he spoke, Shin continued to hit Mr. 2 who fell to the ground, and the movement of his feet never stopped. Enemy? Enemy? Die, don't go too far, little hedgehog? Mr. 2 blocked the kick with both hands, followed the inertia backwards, and nimbly turned over and stood up. In addition to the footprints, there was also a look of warmth and anger on his face. Even the joke between friends was a bit too much. Who are you? Why do you want to fight against the slave family? Uchiha Shin is a ninja. Uchiha. Before Mr. 2 could react, Shin had already flashed in front of him, and the three Magatama began to spin in his eyes. Immerse yourself in Sharingan's magic. Mr. 2 forced himself into an attacking stance. Although his body was shaky, his eyes were always open. Shin's eyes narrowed, showing an interested look. Observation Haki? What is that? Don't even think about using this little trick to defeat the slave family. Do you think you are determined? That's amazing. Ha ha ha, there are only two kinds of people in this world, men or women. But, she-males are different, she-males are both men and women. So, she-males are the strongest, this is my she-male law. Okay, we are still enemies. Mr. 2 didn't have a chance to finish his theory about transvestites, so Shin punched him in the head and knocked him out. He had no interest in listening to his enemy's philosophy on life, let alone a she-male. The remaining people on the ship didn't have any firm will, and Shin easily hypnosised them. After dealing with everyone, Credit Water Style brought the ship back to the vicinity of the melee and prepared to discuss with everyone how to deal with it. The rest of the people didn't care. Shin carried Mr. 2 back to the deck of the melee. Vivi was so excited that she wanted to throw herself into her arms, but Shin sternly refused. The idiot trio looked a little angry, who knew that their new friends would turn into enemies in an instant. So, what to do with this weird ladyboy? Everyone sat around Mr. 2. Nami was the first to ask a question, and the four reckless men on the boat gave the answer. Luffy. Beat me. Zoro. Kill him. Sanji. Kick it away. Letter. Burn him. The timid trio hugged each other. Shin, it's so scary. Why only talk about me? Sanji stood up and raised his feet. Anyway, let's wake him up and interrogate him first. Did you say that interrogation should be gentler? Did I say that? Sanji kicked Mr. 2 in the face, and the pain from the outside world quickly made him wake up from the illusion. The slave family is going to be disfigured, whispering sound. Sanji added another kick with an annoyed look on his face. Shin threw out the steel wire and tied Mr. 2 tightly, but the other party didn't seem to understand the situation. What are you doing? Aren't we friends? Shin. Who is your friend? We are enemies. Luffy. Opposite party. Letter. You are Mr. 2, a senior agent of Baroque Works, right? Luffy. Senior agent. Shin. Come on, what did you do to Vivi's father's face? Luffy. What did you do? Letter. Shut up, Luffy, this is not your place to play. Luffy. A place to play, Letter. Luffy. I was wrong. After dealing with the idiot captain, Shin started to ask questions again with a refreshed mind. What is your mission this time? HMPH. Mr. 2 looked away slightly arrogantly and snorted. Then he turned around and was kicked by Sanji. Don't make that expression to me, it's disgusting. I told you to do it one by one. Shin glanced at Sanji helplessly, wondering why there were always idiots disrupting his thoughts. In order to avoid being disturbed by others, Shin carried Mr. 2 to the stern of the ship and began his own torture to extract a confession. However, this human monster's willpower was stronger than imagined. Whether it was physical pain or mental illusions, he refused to speak. What a headache. Why is there no secret technique of the Yamanaka clan on the scroll? If I had the secret technique of the Yamanaka clan, I could directly read the memory. She-male. Shin came up with a good idea. Illusion, this is not technique. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 105 Lil Hedgehog. Unlike those aggressive illusions, Mr. 2 did not feel any mental discomfort, and the non-technique here was performed very smoothly. The hedgehog-headed limbs in front of him gradually became slender, the originally frizzy hair turned into long and smooth black hair, and delicate makeup was added to his face. You too? Mr. 2 opened his mouth in shock, unable to speak clearly. Shin continued to maintain Sharingan, cleared his throat, and said in a pinched voice. Ahem, yes, I am also a she-male. Without giving Mr. 2 a chance to ask further questions, the letter activated Sharingan's hypnosis ability, and his tone was full of confusion. I joined this pirate group for a certain purpose. My normal male identity is all disguised. After all, we she-males are still criticized a lot outside, and no group will sincerely accept us. But for my goal, I can accept even pretending like this all day long. I believe you are like this too, right? Mr. 2 kept his head down without replying. Shin thought that this plan also failed, but he saw tears dripping on the deck again. Wow, sure enough, the slave family really does have companions. Mr. 2 raised his head again, his face was full of tears, his nose was dripping with tears, and he shouted excitedly. Little hedgehog, sure enough, you also want to go to Kamabaka Kingdom. Shin took 2 steps back in disgust, but Shin in the illusion stepped forward and hugged Mr. 2 tenderly, and said softly. Yes, I want to go there too, we are traveling together. With the combination of Sharingan's hypnosis ability and illusion ability, Mr. 2 finally revealed his true feelings. He didn't want to join the Baroque working group, but under the pressure of Mr. 1, he had no choice but to join. It happened that he also needed some money for travel expenses, so he stayed. He didn't know that the boss of this work company was Crocodile, who was usually Miss, who was responsible for conveying Mr. Zero's orders all Sunday, or directly through the phone bug. Although he tried to track Miss all Sunday to find Mr. Zero, he was discovered every time. After several warnings, he gave up the idea. Naturally, he doesn't know what Mr. Zero's purpose is. He usually does the tasks he is given, and dances ballet when there are no tasks. The mission this time is to execute Mr. 3 and then return to Alabasta to assemble. As for his cobra face, he hasn't had time to use it yet. He just found an opportunity to imitate it before. He probably has to wait until the critical moment to pour a basin of dirty water on Cobra. The legendary kingdom of Kamabaka is known as the second kingdom of women. Both animals and people on the island have a pink girlish heart. To put it simply, the island is full of transvestites. For Mr. 2, it is simply the paradise of dreams. So, his purpose is just to ask for money? Mr. 2 was still crying and talking about his dream, while Shin was thinking about how to deal with this guy. It would be great if he could be incited to rebel and take root in the Baroque working society, but he was an enemy after all, and it was impossible for Shin to completely trust him. If you don't have any knowledge. Shin looked up and down Mr. 2's outfit, but unfortunately he didn't find anything like earrings, but the 2 swan wings on his back and the 2 swan necks on his shoulders were all opportunities. He knocked out the chattering ladyboy with one punch and returned to the deck to explain to everyone how to deal with Mr. 2. Everyone on the deck did not leave, waiting for the result of the letter. He told everyone the news revealed by Mr. 2. Of course, there was no information that was useful to the situation. I'm going to let that she-male go. Why? But when Shin revealed this plan, Nami, who listened carefully and had enough brains, first asked how he could just let an enemy go. Next, this transvestite will return to Alabasta to gather. I'm going to hide a few shadow clones on him to help us eavesdrop on the news. But Mr. Ninja, didn't you say that Mr. 2 just wants money? Vivi said hesitantly. Can we bribe him with money? If he is willing to help, I will pay for it when Abelastan returns to peace. No, it's not safe. He can get the same amount of money as Crocodile, or even more. We're not sure he's going to help us. Hiding the shadow clone in Mr. 2's body is the best way I can think of. This is a multiple choice question. The news Crocodile has received now is still at the level where Sanji pretended to be Mr. 3 and passed it on, and the Straw Hats and Princess Vivi were completely wiped out. If Mr. 2 is solved, there may be loopholes in this message. If Mr. 2 has not replied yet, Mr. 0 may guess that the Straw Hats are not dead and solve Mr. 2 and Mr. 3. But if Mr. 2 is allowed to leave and is allowed to return to Alabasta to gather, the Straw Hats will know the general plan of the Baroque working group. If they have any pre-war meetings, Shadow Clone can eavesdrop on all their plans as long as Mr. 0 is not aware of it. But if Mr. 0 is knowledgeable and aware of the Shadow Clone, the news of the death of the Straw Hats will be revealed. There are risks of exposure on both sides. Nobu chooses the one with the greatest benefits. Of course, there is the last way, to execute Mr. 2, pretend to be Shadow Clone, and when Mr. 0 comes to hear the news, just tell him that he defected. In this way, an opponent can be eliminated in advance. Mr. 0 may also spend time to deal with the defected Mr. 2, but this method was passed on, mainly because he no longer wants to be a she-male. At the same time, Shin also wanted to contact someone, Miss. On Sunday, although there was only a brief glimpse of it, even Mr. 2 did not know the news about the boss. Vivi was actually able to find out the true identity of Mr. 0 by following her. It looks more like Miss. Deliberately let Vivi follow her all Sunday. It's really united. The letter complained about the working environment of Baroque works, and looked at Luffy aside. How about Captain, does this plan work? Luffy nodded seriously. Yeah, in short, it's a great plan, right? You didn't understand at all, did you? Why do you want me to write something like this? Your fonts look better, please, Miss Nami. When Mr. 2 woke up again, he was on his own powered outer ship. The melee was no longer visible around him, and the men on the ship were still in a coma. After rubbing the painful back of his head, Mr. 2 found a note on his body that read, "To my best friend, for some reasons I can't leave this pirate group for the time being. I can only pay some price to let you go. I hope we can meet in the kingdom of Kamabaka." The handwriting on the note was beautiful, and it looked like it was written by a woman. Mr. 2 cried again after reading it.
Woo, we will definitely meet again in the shemale field.
I hope you can also practice your own way of being a shemale. My best friend, Little Hedgehog, ads by Bid Gear. Chapter 106 Ace's Burial Expenses. After bidding farewell to Mr. 2's ship, the melee continued to move forward and finally approached the waters of Alabasta.
The appearance of a sea cat heralds the approach of Alabasta. It is worth mentioning that because everyone has not had a full meal in several days, the 4 reckless men on the ship are planning to eat the sea cat as lunch. But they were all KO'd by Vivi. Because sea cats are considered a symbol of good luck in Alabasta, they cannot be eaten.
As they approached this desert country, Luffy gnawed on his slippers hungry, and Chopper, who was covered in hair, was also very tired from the heat. But fortunately, the melee finally docked and came to the port town of Alabasta, Rape Flower, partly translated as Naluabaha. Nami also wanted to tell everyone to be careful, but Luffy disappeared as soon as he turned around. Fortunately, the other prisoner with a bounty on his head was still staying on the boat. Because of Princess Vivi's identity, she and Karu cannot travel casually, otherwise they may be recognized by others, so the task of purchasing ingredients is left to others. Usopp covered Vivi and Karu with a piece of gray cloth to help them hide their identities. Is this really okay? Wouldn't it make it more conspicuous? With the scrutinizing eyes of passers-by, everyone came to an abandoned wall in the suburbs, where Vivi and Karu could hide. Vivi wanted to let a few people leave. After all, the original agreement was to send them to Alabasta. Logically speaking, their mission was now over. But during this short journey, everyone has become true partners. Naturally, it is impossible to leave Vivi alone. Nami also plans to collect the money after the country returns to peace. The next stop was Juba, Yorba, which was the base of the rebel army. The long journey required a large amount of supplies. Nowadays, the only people whose faces are unknown to Baroque works are Sanji and the new member Chopper. In order to avoid accidents, the procurement task falls on them. After they bought the clothes, everyone put on some disguises before going out together. Of course, Shin, who knows transformation technique, is also a member who can move freely, but he did not say anything. How tiring it is to purchase things. He planned to wait until Sanji and the two set off before pretending to remember the matter, and then go out for a walk freely. Wait a minute. Where are Ninja-sama going? Nami gently stopped the letter that was about to slip away quietly. She broke out in a cold sweat and said calmly without replying to the letter, "I'm going to get some information." After saying that, he ran away without looking back. "Buy 2 outfits for me and Vivi." Vivi asked curiously, "Didn't you let Sanji-kun and the others buy it just now?" "By the way, Vivi, you don't know, do you?" Nami suddenly understood and explained. "Shin, that guy has a very unique vision. I don't know how his head grows. He chooses women's clothes that look better than the other. He buys clothes for himself casually, and he insists on getting that so-called flame tattoo on his back. Tuanfan. Hey, it would be nice if he had this kind of discernment when buying wine. Hey, Zoro, the clothes you are wearing now were chosen by Shin." "Huh, I'll take it off now." "Zoro, calm down, you bought your pants on faith too." Usopp said nothing to Zoro. He squatted down and sulked with a red face. Karu laughed rudely. "Asshole duck. You were laughing just now, weren't you?" Zoro and Karu started fighting with bastard fists. Nami held her forehead and sighed. "I thought things would be a little cleaner now that Nobu and Sanji are gone." "You want one, little brother? This is a golden apple. If you eat one, you can live for 1,000 years. Shin looked at the vendor selling apples speechlessly. Did he think he couldn't see the yellow paint on it? "Uncle, if you trick people into eating paint, your lifespan will be shortened." He casually opened the curtain behind the vendor, revealing a cart full of golden apples, and then walked towards the clothing store. After choosing the clothes, Shin even bought a paintbrush and meltable paint, which are wonderful tools that will be used later. Of course, he didn't really come here to hang out. At least he noticed that there were a lot of Marines here, and he even saw someone he didn't really want to see. "Isn't this Ash Head in East Blue? Is it really okay to run around like this?" Hiding in the distance and quietly observing Smoker, who was wandering around, Shin left. He didn't want to meet this troublesome guy. In addition, he also met another man, a man wearing a cowboy hat, shirtless, holding Luffy's reward warrant and asking around.
"Bounty hunter. In that case, you should also have my reward order. After all, we are together."
Shin followed up while thinking about various possibilities. Could it be? Silently, the two came to a deserted alley. The man in front of them had stopped.
"What are you doing following me?" Shin calmed down and realized that he had obviously been led here by the other party. His tracking skills weren't that bad, right?
Your name is Ace, right? The man turned around, revealing a face with a bit of Madara, but at this time he was frowning. Are you targeting my bounty hunter? Sorry, I don't have time to deal with you now, can you please leave now? Without knowing the other's identity, both parties thought the other was a bounty hunter, but this sentence also made Shin breathe a sigh of relief. Previously on Drum Island, Dalton said that a man named Ace was waiting for Luffy in Alabasta. The letter informed Luffy of this news and learned about the relationship between the two. You misunderstood. As he spoke, he lifted the transformation technique and pointed to the bounty order in Ace's hand. That guy is my captain. Really? Upon hearing this, Ace instantly showed a look of surprise, looked at Shin's face carefully, and took out another reward order from the shoulder bag behind his back. The mysterious ninja, Uchiha Shin, is indeed Luffy's partner. Holding 2 reward tickets, Ace excitedly ran to Shin's side, bent down and stretched out his right hand. Sorry, I'm Ace, Luffy's brother. Uchiha Shin is a ninja. The letter brought tears to his eyes. This was the first time he introduced himself to others in such a formal way. That guy Luffy must have caused you a lot of trouble, right? That's right, but who made him my captain? Seeing the helpless expression on Shin's face, Ace's smile became even brighter. He was not stupid enough to really think that Shin disliked Luffy.
Speaking of which, is Luffy with you? That guy disappeared as soon as he got off the boat. He should be eating in a certain restaurant now.
Ha ha ha, it's still the same as when I was a kid. Luffy, this is a rare opportunity. Let me treat you to dinner. Dalton told me that you had a meal at Drum Island. Do you want to leave me there to pay the bill this time? Don't say that. I will run with you. With that said, the two of them arrived at the largest hotel in the city. The food here is very good, very desert style, and the two of them had a great time chatting. But as he was eating, Ace suddenly fell into the plate in front of him. The letter was startled and he hurriedly checked Ace's physical condition. Fell asleep. Shin was speechless. Why did he suddenly fall asleep while eating? By the way, clothes. He suddenly remembered that Nami and the others were still waiting, so he took out a wad of money and put it on the table, then hurriedly left with the small package. The restaurant owner swallowed, nervously stepped forward to pick it up and counted it. It was a lot more than the meal cost. Then he looked at Ace lying on the plate beside him, and he had a guess in his mind. Is this the burial fee? Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 107. The meeting between Luffy and Ace. Although it was a bit rude, Shin left first. Ace would definitely look for Luffy when he woke up. He would just go to the busiest place to find the two of them later. As the first member to join, Shin is well aware of Luffy's level of troublemaking, not to mention there is a cigarette ashtray here. The most important thing now is to change Nami and Vivi's clothes. When he came back, Sanji and Chopper had also returned from shopping. Everyone had changed into desert-style clothes, wearing robes and a turban on their heads. Only Nami and Vivi were wearing dancers' clothes, with nothing on their upper bodies except underwear. Tisk. Asshole hedgehog. Are you dissatisfied with the clothes I picked out? Yes, and it's big. As he said that, Shin pushed the two women into the changing room with a small package, which was actually a piece of cloth blocked in the corner. In fact, the clothes Shin bought were not much different from those bought by Sanji, except that the underwear on the upper body was replaced by a midriff-bearing vest. Vivi's was black and Nami's was colorful. Vivi has a tassel and a transparent tulle on the back, and Nami has a hijab on her head. The two women looked up and down. The material was indeed much better, but the change was not too big. At this time, Shin walked towards the two of them with the Meow Meow tool. The meltable paint they bought earlier was just for this moment. Ignoring Sanji, who was jealous and about to get angry, Shin started to touch the two women. After being made by the painting master, the two women had a more rebellious and unruly temperament, and Shin nodded with satisfaction. As shown in the picture, how about it? It looks better than the one you bought. Hey, Nami-san and Vivi-chan are beautiful to begin with, and they don't need such random embellishments like yours. Huh. Do you understand what I call art? What you bought is clearly vulgar. What does it mean to be vulgar? I want to highlight the beauty of Nami-san and Vivi-chan to the greatest extent. If I go to a tavern and find a dancer, her clothes are better than the ones you buy. Low-grade aesthetics. Asshole hedgehog-head. You are here to cause trouble on purpose, right? Seeing that the two were about to fight again, Nami came up and stopped the two in time. Seeing Nami's dress, Sanji was stunned, with sadness in his eyes. Nami-san, why do you put on your coat? Boom. Of course, this is a desert, do you want to burn me to death? After packing up Sanji, Nami looked back at the supplies. This amount was enough to last for a few days. Let's go to Juba. Oh, speaking of which, are we missing one person? Nami held her forehead and sighed, the captain hasn't been found yet. As a last resort, the people who had finished dressing up went out to look for Luffy. Shin returned to the previous hotel. Ace was still there, but he hadn't woken up yet. What are you doing to my best friend, EH? Didn't I get rid of him with the burial money you gave me? No, take this thing away and give me another dessert. Shin waved his hand helplessly and motioned to the store to take away the sack that was going to be put on Ace's head. He stepped forward and pushed Ace, feeling suffocated after being bored for so long. Ace's eyes were hazy, his head still not very clear. He leaned his face against Shin's belly and rubbed. No, I fell asleep. Don't wipe your face with my clothes, you bastard. Ha ha ha, don't worry, here, please eat my fried rice. You can eat it yourself. I thought Ace would be a gentle and good boy, but he has the same temperament as Luffy. Before the two of them had any time to chat, a cigarette head suddenly broke into the store. The news that it was Smoker, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, came to town, and as expected, reached his ears. So, what should I do? Ace turned around, leaned against the dining table, and looked leisurely at Smoker, who was waiting for him. Still smoking 2 cigars at once as before, Smoker said, just let it go. Shin ate his dessert quietly on the side, pretending to be an ordinary diner. He didn't want to get involved with Smoker anymore. Because he had changed into the robe and turban, Smoker didn't use his sense of knowledge and didn't recognize him for a while. But the quiet time did not last long, and a familiar voice came. Rubber rubber rocket. Wow. Ah. Luffy broke through the door and sent a rubber rocket straight into Smoker's back. Unintentionally, Smoker flew forward and hit Ace. The two of them continued their momentum, smashing through the wall of the hotel and an unknown number of houses before stopping. The letter next to Ace escaped the disaster and continued to eat his dessert. Luffy was clamoring for food, and the boss was so courageous that he even dared to cook a big meal for Luffy under such circumstances. Ace stood up and dusted himself off, preparing to clean up the kid who knocked him away. When he passed by a certain house, he didn't forget to say hello. Sorry for disturbing your meal. Following the remains of the wall on the ground, Ace returned to the hole in the hotel wall, where a familiar figure was sitting there devouring food. The corner of Ace's mouth raised, and he raised his hand to say hello. Road. Straw Hat Boy, Smoker, who was following closely behind him, held him down and roared angrily. Coming to stand in front of Luffy, Smoker showed an expression as expected. You have indeed come to this country. Luffy is eating. What is your purpose here? Luffy is still eating. Where is the Uchiha with you? Luffy is still eating. Stop eating. After a while of brainstorming, Luffy finally recognized Smoker's identity, but he wasn't too nervous. He opened his mouth wide and swept away the food in front of him, muttering, You were the smoke man back then, do you want to eat together? Smoker. Don't act stupid for me, you bastard. After saying that, he drew out the 10 hands behind his back and was about to hit Luffy. The figure holding a kunai rushed out from Luffy and blocked the attack. Long time no see, brother Marine. Shin greeted Smoker with a helpless expression. He didn't want to come forward at first, but who knew Luffy wouldn't even run away. Smoker was not in the mood to say hello, and said with a gloomy face. Uchiha, sure enough, you are here too. Don't try to escape this time. Smoker took 2 steps back and put away his 10 hands, preparing to activate his fruit ability to trap the 2 people in front of him, solving 2 serious problems at once. A hand placed on the top of his head and suddenly pushed him down. It was Ace who had fallen to the ground. Luffy was stunned for a moment, and quickly recognized the identity of the person in front of him, and shouted excitedly. Ace. Luffy. Uchiha. Ash's Head. Ads by Bid Gear. Chapter 108 Sailing Again, Leaving the Rapeseed Flowers. The 4 met in the hotel. 2 of them were very excited, and the other 2 were extremely depressed. Luffy and Ace have not seen each other for 3 years, and the joy and excitement of meeting again is self-evident. The depressed people are naturally Chodo and Hedgehog. Smoker is about to face the siege of 3 thieves, but Shin doesn't want to be entangled with Smoker. Last time, he used a trick to win down the opponent with water prison technique. This time, if Smoker is determined to play long range, there is nothing he can do. Seeing Luffy walking aside and grabbing his wrists as if there was no one around, and Smoker staring at him, Shin understood. He is probably dead from overwork. He retreated and left the hotel. The battlefield outside was even wider. Just as he expected, Smoker didn't even look at Luffy. His lower body turned into smoke and he quickly followed. Why are you staring at me, you bastard? Shut up, Uchiha. Running on the roof, Shin separated 2 shadow clone, naturally not to confuse the sight, but to stop Smoker. Wind-style great breakthrough. The 2 shadow clone turned around at the same time and blew out strong winds from their mouths. Smoker had no choice but to return to the ground, and the smoke form was more easily affected by the wind. On the ground, Tashigi happened to be nearby. This girl was a bit silly without her glasses. She held up a towel and asked. It's really hot, Colonel Smoker, do you need a towel? Smoker passed by Tashigi without looking back and ordered at the same time. Gather the entire army and chase Uchiha. Don't go too far, you bastard. The corners of Shin's mouth couldn't help but twitch. Am I a heinous sinner? Luffy and Luffy are still fighting in the restaurant. As Marine, you should take care of it. Tashigi on the ground conveyed the order to another soldier, put on glasses, carried a knife and joined the arresting team. However, an acquaintance of Shin's appeared in front of him. He was the green algae head who saw his partner being hunted but was hiding behind the water tank. Hey, Zoro, what are you doing hiding behind the 3rd water jug in front of the fruit stand? Asshole. Shin not only shouted loudly, but also pointed, fearing that Marine could not find Zoro's location. Seeing Tashigi running over, Zoro also began to escape. Just like Shin, it's not that I can't beat him, I just don't want to be entangled. The friends who were looking for Luffy in the city also noticed Marine's actions one after another, and rushed to the coast with supplies. Luffy and the two in the hotel were finally noticed by Marine, who arrested them. Compared with the letter, the escape process of the two was leisurely. Luffy even wanted to buy a golden apple to eat. During the letter, he continued to use ninjutsu to disrupt Smoker's pursuit and led him to the outskirts of the city, an empty and uninhabited area. Just as he was about to start forming a counterattack, Ace, whose lower body turned into flames, rushed over from behind. Fire punch. White fist. The flames and smoke collided, and the bright flames were slightly better, but in the end no one could do anything to the other, and they could only dissipate. Across a Smoker, Ace shouted to the letter. Sorry, I haven't seen Luffy for a long time and I'm a little excited. Leave the rest to me. Yoshi, I'll leave it to you. Someone came to pick up the bag, and Shin breathed a sigh of relief. He hated that Logia would meet with a sexy guy. Stop. Uchiha. Smoker still wanted to pursue, and his fist sprayed out again with white smoke, aiming at Shin's back. Bright flames followed, and Ace threw two flame spears, crossing them to block the flying fists. Brother Marine, I just told you to leave this place to me. Portgas d Ace, why are you helping Uchiha? He is my friend, and at the same time, he is my brother's partner. What a surprise. The flames on Ace's body became brighter, and Smoker's smoke became more intense. The battle between smoke and fire was about to break out, and the supporting Marines also gathered behind Ace. But this has nothing to do with Shin. As the captain of Whitebeard's 2nd Division, Ace can't handle such a situation. He ran wildly towards the melee on the coast, and on the way he met Zoro, who for some reason ran behind Tashigi. With Zoro, who was lost, and after confirming that his friends were all behind him, Shinichi blocked Tashigi with a wall of earth blocking the path. It's really embarrassing. The famous pirate hunter is actually being chased around by a little girl. You are being chased by a strong man. The journey was not long, and the two quickly returned to the coastline. At this time, everyone except Luffy was already waiting on the melee. Just wait until Luffy and Ace are in place before you can leave. As soon as he jumped onto the deck, Shin heard a voice. Rubber rubber, rocket. With a cold feeling on his back, he immediately squatted down. Before Zoro beside him could react, Luffy was ejected and hit directly into the sea. Ah, sorry, Zoro. Ah, I'm so thirsty after running all the way. Idiot. This is the water I bought with great difficulty. As soon as he got on the boat, Luffy started messing with the things on the boat, holding buckets like a big buffalo. As a result, he was kicked several times by Sanji. After removing the shadow clone who was staying on the ship, Shin turned his attention to Luffy, who was being beaten. Luffy, your brother helped us stop Marine. Do you want to set sail now? Well, let's go sailing. It's okay as far as Ace is concerned. Along the river bank, the melee began to move forward slowly, and the other people on the boat only recovered from Luffy's brother's voice. Nami covered her mouth. You mean Ace, the captain of the 2nd Division of the 4 Emperor's Whitebeard Pirates, is also here? Everyone knows that Luffy has an older brother, and Nami, who often reads newspapers, also knows the name Ace and what the Whitebeard behind him represents. But I didn't expect that such a big character would actually be waiting for Luffy here. That's right. It's Ace, Luffy said proudly. He is very strong. I have never won a fight with him before, ha ha ha. Not once? Nami asked in disbelief. In her eyes, Luffy could already be classified as a monster. She also knew that Ace would be very strong, but she didn't expect that Luffy had never won even once. With a smile on his face, Luffy admitted generously, yeah, I always lose. Usopp complained helplessly. Sure enough, the monster's brother is also a monster. Thinking of Ace's ability, Shin had some guesses. Ace seems to be a user with Logia abilities such as flames. It's normal that you couldn't win at that time. Huh? Luffy looked at the letter with a puzzled expression. Did Ace eat devil fruit too? So what were you talking about in the hotel for so long? We are competing to see who can eat more. Seeing the captain say this seriously, Shin was speechless for a moment and couldn't help but fall into self-doubt. Is it important to eat more during competition? Ha ha ha. Although I have never defeated Ace before, I am definitely stronger now. Even if he eats devil fruit, I will win this eating contest. Standing on the edge of the boat, Luffy put his hands on his hips and looked very proud. You kid. Ace's voice came, and the next second he jumped onto the edge of the boat, held down Luffy's head and said dotingly. Don't think that winning this boring competition will make you better than me. Ace. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 109 Farewell Ace, Marine Vice Admiral on vacation. My brother is grateful for your care. Ignoring Luffy, Ace bowed to everyone in front of him with a smile on his face, politely. No, it's nothing. Several people on the deck also bowed immediately. Shin was not there, but Shin was still doubting life. This guy has no education. You must also find it troublesome. No, it's nothing. Please take good care of me. Sanji raised the unlit cigarette and said, anyway, why don't you come in first? I'll pour the tea. No, no need. Ace still had a smile on his face and pointed a finger at Sanji. I saw the unlit cigarette ignited and smoke emitted instantly. Several people on the deck still couldn't believe that Luffy's brother could be so polite. Chopper and Zoro even had tears in their eyes. I thought he would be a more independent-minded guy than Luffy. What a good brother. Nami clutched her chest, and he's so polite. Polite? Shin looked down at the stains on his clothes. Is this guy who wiped his face with his own clothes polite? Ace turned his head and looked at Luffy. Although he knew the answer in his heart, Ace still wanted to ask. Luffy, do you want to join the Whitebeard Pirates? Of course, your partner can come too. I won't do it. Ha ha ha, I knew it, I was just saying it casually. But Luffy, I've decided to help Whitebeard ascend to the throne, not you. It's okay, we can just duel when the time comes. Seeing the smile on Luffy's face, Ace couldn't help but laugh and threw out the life card he had prepared. Take it. I want you to carry it with you forever. What, isn't it just a small note? This paper will guide us when we meet again. Do not want? I want? Seeing Ace reaching out to get it back, Luffy immediately put the note into his arms. Next, after seeing my brother once, it was time to say goodbye. Having a stupid younger brother makes the older brother very worried. You can't do anything about him, right? I'm begging you. At this time, the melee passed a corner, and 5 sailboats came straight towards the melee. Vivi immediately recognized the identity of the opposite ship. It's the billionaire elder of the Baroque Working Society. Just in time, let me do it. He moved his wrist and Shin was about to fly forward, but Ace reached out to stop him first. Give it to me. Without giving Shin a chance to refuse, Ace turned over and saw a rope connected to the edge of the melee, a speedboat for only one person. This is Ace's ship, a ship that belongs exclusively to him as a Mera fruit user. As the ability was activated, the tail of the speedboat sprayed flames and rushed forward quickly. Fire Fist Ace. As long as I accept your head, I will definitely be promoted to a digital agent. Can you alone deal with us? Ignoring the enemy's cries, Ace pushed the speedboat into the water as the speedboat moved forward. Due to the existence of inertia, the speedboat continued to move forward in the water. Ace himself jumped up high, activated his fruit ability, and his lower body turned into flames, flying past 5 enemy ships and coming to their side. The speedboat broke through the sea at just this moment and caught him steadily, its right arm ignited with flames. Fire Punch. Boom boom boom. Countless flames, carrying high temperature and impact, passed through 5 ships one after another without any pause. Accompanied by screams, the enemy didn't even have a chance to fire, and it sank into the sea. The sea was covered with shipwrecks, and evaporated seawater floated in the sky. The flames on Ace's right arm closed in, and he raised the brim of his hat with the index finger of his right hand that still had flames, and a victorious smile appeared on his lips. It's amazing. Several people at the back of the boat couldn't help but admire. Unlike Smoker's smoke, Ace completely demonstrated the power of the Logia fruit to everyone. Then, Ace waved goodbye to everyone and drove the speedboat to continue looking for the goal of his trip. Shin looked at Luffy and asked, "Is this really okay? You haven't seen each other for so long?" Luffy looked at the small note in his hand, still with a smile on his face. Ace said he set sail to hunt down someone, and this is his adventure. It doesn't matter, I'll see you again one day. Nami, help me sew it onto the straw hat. Okay. In the town at this time, Marine and his team did not capture any members of the Straw Hats because of Ace's obstruction. But a Marine soldier reported the news that during the hunt, he saw Princess Vivi of this country mixing with the Straw Hats. Sitting on the abandoned wall where several people once hid, Smoker was still smoking 2 cigars. Tashigi, what do you think? Vivi is actually with them. They should be the hostages. They abducted the princess. Maybe they have some other conspiracy? No, Vivi ran away with them. She looked more like a companion. The princess is their companion. Tashigi couldn't believe the news. How could a princess of a country become a pirate's companion? But Smoker had already guessed about the previously captured agent calling himself Mr. 11, and the organization he found called Baroque Works. Combine this with the opinions of the citizens and the current situation in the country. Sure enough, this country is going to undergo big changes. Taking a deep breath of cigarette, Smoker stood up and ordered to Tashigi. Get ready to sail, the destination is the rainy land. Isn't there a crocodile in the rainland? Smoker's order confused Tashigi because Smoker had told her more than once that he hated the so-called Shichibukai. A pirate is a pirate no matter what. After sorting out the thoughts in his mind and combining it with Crocodile's previous behavior style, Smoker had a rough guess. The location of Crocodile, Straw Hat Luffy and Uchiha will definitely appear there. If Vivi is really their companion, then their target can only be Crocodile. As a princess of a country, Vivi cannot play a pirate game at this time. But it won't be because of the rebels. She has a high reputation among the people, and even the rebels won't take action against her. So, there is still a third-party force, and Vivi, as a princess, has to seek help from pirates. The most likely one is the so-called Baroque Company, and the one most suspected in this country is Shichibukai, Crocodile. Fighting pirates? A hero of the country? Stop joking, that guy is not like that. After talking about his guess, Smoker took a deep breath of cigarette, thought of a person, turned to Tashigi and said, "That guy who came for vacation, do you have her contact information?" Tashigi was stunned for a moment, but quickly realized who Smoker was talking about. Yes, do you need me to contact you now? Smoker nodded, and Tashigi immediately took out his phone and dialed the number. Bulu Bulu, Buru Bulu, click, Moses, Your Majesty Rear Admiral, I am Commander Sao of Naval Headquarters. Etc. Before Tashigi could finish her greeting, the female voice on the phone interrupted her, her tone full of impatience. I'm on vacation now, don't contact me about work matters. If there is anything urgent, go and inform the headquarters. I will take action after receiving the order. That's it, hang up. Click, the caller was quickly hung up, and Smoker's face became more gloomy. Sail away, Tashigi. Yes, Colonel Smoker, ads by Bid Gear. Chapter 110 The Separate Actions of the Clones and the Role of the Circular Stone Plate. After bidding farewell to Ace, everyone headed towards their next destination. In the middle of the process, Vivi wrote the evidence she and Ikaram collected on a piece of paper and gave it to Karu, asking it to be delivered to the king as a double insurance. For the next voyage, everyone needs to cross the Centaur River, first arrive at the oasis Aruma, and then cross the desert to reach the rebel base, Yuba. Although Vivi is sure that the mastermind behind it is Crocodile, she has no idea of confronting Crocodile. She just wants to go to the headquarters of the rebel army to prevent them from starting a war with the king's army. The melee is heading towards Aruma, and even with the acceleration of ninjutsu, it will take a long time. At this time, in the Rainland, Crocodile, the mastermind behind Vivi's busy schedule, is about to launch his own operation. The largest casino in Yuyan, in this desert country that is extremely short of water, Yuyan is like a small island, surrounded by a circle of lake water. Below it is Crocodile's secret base. At this time, in addition to him, there is also her partner, Miss All Sunday. Looking at the underwater scenery outside the window, Crocodile asked, the battle is scheduled for 7 o'clock in the morning 2 days later. Are you all ready? Yes, everything is ready. Leaning leisurely on the sofa, Miss Kwan Sunday held a glass of red wine in her hand. The senior agents will gather at the Spider Cafe at 8 o'clock tonight. As she said, Baroque Working Group actually had a pre-war meeting, and the 4 shadow clone hidden in Mr. 2 also knew the opponent's current high-level combat power. Mr. 1 and his partner Miss are pointing their fingers, a bald man and a dancer with an afro. Merry Christmas to Mr. 4 and his partner Miss, a clumsy fat man and a chatty old woman. Including Mr. 2, the enemy currently has only 5 high-level combatants left, and Shadow Clone can't help but think of killing them all here. However, with Mr. 2, a so-called strong-willed she-male, the illusion cannot be guaranteed to be effective immediately, and the Shadow Clone will easily dissipate when the battle is opened, so he can only give up this plan temporarily. But it was not without success. As soon as Mr. 2 and Mr. 1 met, there was a fight. The 2 Shadow Clones, which had transformed into swan wings, fell off on their own and hid. At night, when the land turtle took them to the rainy land, 2 Shadow Clone followed quietly, while the other 2 Shadow Clones stayed on Mr. 2's body. The Shadow Clone left on Mr. 2 is responsible for monitoring their plans, and the 2 separated Shadow Clone are responsible for contacting Miss All Sunday, preventing Crocodile from being caught in a net. If it is true as Shin suspected, Miss deliberately let Vivi track her all Sunday. Even if the 2 Shadow Clones responsible for monitoring are discovered, the other 2 Shadow Clones will be able to learn more information from Miss All Sunday. Time passed slowly like this, and the journey to the rainy land was very long, longer than the journey everyone took to Aluma. The next morning, the melee finally docked at the coast, leaving a Shadow Clone on guard on the ship, and the rest of the journey would be on foot. When they landed, everyone also encountered a creature called the Kung Fu Manatee, which was very powerful in combat. In close combat, Usopp was co-ed on the spot. Even if they win, they will worship the victor as their master. Luffy thus gathers a group of Manatee apprentices. We have to take them forward together, which of course is not possible. There is no other way. In the end, everyone left some food for the manatees before leaving. Different from the port city of Rapeseed that I visited before, Aluma is completely desolate at this time. There is not a single person living there. It looks like a ruin under the erosion of wind and sand. Aruma used to be an oasis city, located on the lower reaches of the Centaur River. There is no shortage of fresh water here. However, in recent years, the power of the Centaur River has continued to decrease, and the downstream position has been occupied by seawater, making it no longer possible to obtain it from there, to fresh water. Whenever it rains, people in this country collect rainwater and store it. Logically speaking, even if there is no Santola River, there will not be anyone left. But in the past 3 years, the country has had zero rainfall. The former port town of Rapeseed has maintained its prosperity because of its proximity to the oasis city of Katli. Alabasta did not have such good luck and could only gradually wither away. Most of Alabasta's current cities are in a dilemma without water. There is only one exception, the capital, Aruba, where it rains even more than before. People call it the King's Miracle. Until 2 years ago, a team transporting dancing powder was deliberately exposed on the street, shouting that they were doing so under the king's orders. Dancing fans are called rain-seeking powders. They say they are praying for rain, but they are actually robbing them. Dancing fans will grab all the water vapor around them to achieve the purpose of rainfall. Thinking of the frequent rains in the capital, but no rain in other parts of the country, the citizens believed that the king had robbed them of their rain, and the rebellion began. Although the king wanted to explain, for some reason, a large number of dancing fans appeared in the castle, and Cobra was unable to explain. That's it, Vivi, your father is too bad, idiot. Vivi's father was obviously framed. The captain who listened to the story without thinking was kicked several times by Sanji. Everyone was listening quietly to Vivi talking about the past of this country, and something that they hadn't paid attention to for a long time appeared in Shin's mind. Because this time he was operating on land, Shin packed up everything and took it out. The scrolls of ninjutsu, taijutsu, and illusion were returned to the seals on the forearms of both hands. The phone bug and the previously obtained scrolls number 1 to number 3 were packed into a small package, and of course, there was a round stone plate. Since getting this stone plate, except for the time when he performed for Luffy, Shin has never used this thing once. It is really not needed. Its ability is also very simple. It is not control, but control after generation. As long as you input chakra, you can generate wind, thunder, and water 2 kilometers away from the stone plate, and then control it to form a storm. Of course, you can also not control it and let it evolve naturally to form precipitation, but this will not achieve the same effect as when the strong wind blew the melee back. Things that can control nature are naturally powerful, but the reason why Shin has never used it is because the casting distance of this thing must be 2,000 meters away from the disc. It can be farther, but cannot be closer, which means it cannot be used in battle, cannot be hit, and has no effect of pushing the melee forward. Its only function is to attack enemy ships during naval battles. However, from the time it was obtained to now, everyone has not encountered any serious naval battles. The 5 ships of billionaires they encountered last time were also used by Ace. Got the upper hand. It can't participate in the battle, but it perfectly fits the current situation in Alabasta. I was also asked to learn the spiritualization technique. The spiritualization technique can also transmit chakra remotely and use ninjutsu. I asked why I placed a useless stone plate. The feelings are reserved for Vivi. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 111 Interesting Stories in the Desert. There was chakra sealed on the back before. If I didn't take it out, the seal probably wouldn't dissipate. Shin couldn't help but regret, he had nothing to do with the water dragon and the battery was gone. But that's all. As long as Crocodile is solved, even if there is no circular stone plate, Alabasta's normal precipitation will be enough for the people of the country. Right now, the circular stone plate is at best an emergency supplementary device. Vivi. What's wrong, Mr. Ninja? Show you a big baby. Vivi, who was sitting on her knees on the ground, was stunned. Didn't she see that she was sentimentalizing the people? Now is the time to say this? Holding a round stone plate in hand, Kongua quickly lit up as the chakra was transported, and dark clouds quickly gathered in the sky 2,000 meters in front of everyone. No strong winds or thunder and lightning, just precipitation this time. Ah-ho, it's raining. Without waiting for Vivi's reaction, Luffy felt as if he was intoxicated when he saw the dark clouds. He stretched out his arms and launched himself into the air, rushing towards the bottom of the dark clouds. Ignoring the crazy captain, Shin stepped forward and helped Vivi up, motioning to the stone plate he held in his right hand, with a very proud expression on his face. How about something that can make rain, isn't it a big treasure? The newly joined chopper didn't know about the stone plate yet, so he swooped up and rode on Shin's neck, cocked his head and looked at the stone plate, his eyes shining. It's amazing. The people around were not stupid either, and they quickly remembered the circular stone plate that had been demonstrated before. Only Vivi still had a tangled look on her face, as if she was hesitant to speak. Shin immediately understood her concerns. Rest assured. Yeho. It's not like dancing fans. Yeho. It's raining. Boom, ah. The idiot captain yelling in the rain was struck by lightning. He didn't know how he yelled, but he could still hear it 2 kilometers away. After taking care of the captain, Shin continued to explain. This is the rainwater I generated using chakra. There is no need to worry about it robbing rainwater from other areas. Although I can't stay here all the time for rain, it can still be used for emergencies. And with this, it will be easier for you to persuade the rebels to take action, right? Vivi nodded vigorously. Tears of emotion appeared in her eyes. Thank you. After that, everyone continued to move forward, and the letter also lifted the rain caused by the circular stone plate. Operating in the desert is more difficult than on a ship. The command was handed over to Vivi, who is most familiar with the desert. The repetitive scenery and scorching heat are a huge test for the human body. Chopper, the reindeer from Winter Island, lay down before taking 2 steps. The desert was still too difficult for a furry creature like him. Zoro made a small cart to pull Chopper. Chopper lay on the cart and stuck out his tongue. I can't do it anymore, I'm most afraid of the heat. Who called you furry? Take off that fur, right?
You long-nosed monster. Don't underestimate the reindeer.
Ah, monster. A water balloon hit Chopper, and the ferocious expression on his face that was used to scare Usopp immediately turned into enjoyment. It feels so comfortable. With the existence of Shin, at least everyone didn't have to worry about water. Luffy would come over to ask for a water balloon from time to time. He calmed down a little after being beaten for the 8th time. Sanji suggested that Shin continue to use the stone plate, and then he hung behind him and everyone went to march in the rain. Although everyone agreed, they met with strong opposition from Shin. Last time he used himself as a means of transportation, and this time he was not used as a means of rainfall. Vivi, let's have dinner? But we're only a quarter of the way there, Luffy. Don't you know, as the saying goes, when you are hungry, you have to eat. Hey, don't talk nonsense there. Okay. Then walk to the next pile of rocks and let's take a rest. Yoshi. Let's play guessing. The loser will be responsible for all the luggage. It's so heavy and so hot. Usopp, who was walking in front, adjusted the magnification of his goggles and said excitedly. We found a pile of rocks ahead, it's break time. Luffy, who was holding his luggage, ran towards the pile of rocks and ran back after a while. He rushed to Chopper and said anxiously, there are many seriously injured birds, Chopper, go and save them quickly. After saying that, he pulled her away and ran towards the pile of rocks again. Vivi realized something was wrong and wanted to call them to stop, but she didn't have time. When everyone rushed to the pile of stones, their luggage was gone. Vivi explained helplessly to everyone. That's a deceptive bird. It often pretends to be seriously injured to deceive travelers in the desert and steal their luggage. What to do? Mr. Ninja's package is also inside. Luffy, knowing that he was right, lowered his head and accepted the trial of Nami and Usopp, while the rest of the people looked around for traces of the cheating bird. Forget about the other luggage, the letter's package contained a phone bug and a scroll.
The birds were also arrogant. Not only did they not go far, they even stopped at a special place to eat the lunch in the package.
In the end, they were all destroyed by a Sharingan, and ended up being burned as a bird, which was eaten by Luffy, who vented his anger. Taking this opportunity, Vivi taught everyone about the animals in the desert. Others were not interested. Shin only heard the words, desert strawberry. Desert strawberry, I wonder if it will have a special flavor when made into dessert. The desert strawberry is a poisonous spider that looks like a red strawberry and cannot be eaten. Strawberry pudding, not bad, that's a poisonous spider. The matcha strawberry roll sounds delicious too. Can't eat it. Sure enough, you still need the most classic strawberry cake to taste the flavor better. Vivi-chan, ignore this sweet tooth. Sanji read the letter and pointed at his head. Vivi nodded immediately and clearly. While resting among the piles of stones, everyone was waiting for a camel that was being chased by the Sundora lizard. It was still a lustful camel that would not let boys ride, and had no resistance to Nami Vivi. In the end, it became the mount of two women and was named Eyelashes. Shin has no intention of using Sharingan to control it, because the centaur lizard is obviously a better choice, or buy one, get one free. Two of these animals usually hunt together. In this way, the two girls got mounts, camel eyelashes, and the boys group was assigned two large lizards, which have no names, because these two things also take into account the identity of ingredients. Camel eyelashes are out of the scope of ingredients because of their relationship with Chopper. Continuing to move forward, everyone experienced a series of events. Luffy accidentally eats a mescal cactus and is anesthetized by Chopper. Luffy was dizzy and hallucinating due to heat, and was punched awake by Zoro. Luffy was rolling around and wanted to eat the lizard now, but Sanji kicked him until he was full. Luffy wanted to swim in the desert, but was restored to sanity by Shinichi's water style. Luffy pulled Usopp to play sandboarding, but Nami gently dissuaded him. In short, after various events, at dusk, everyone finally approached the destination of their trip, the Oasis Yuba. However, this place is not like an oasis, and the environment is only slightly better than that of the abandoned Iruma. But let alone the rebels, there is even only one old man digging a hole here. The old man also heard the discussion of the people behind him, and said without looking back. Are you a traveler? Traveling in the desert is tiring, isn't it? I'm sorry, this city has been abandoned. As he said that, the old man turned his head and saw two huge lizards. He immediately waved his shovel and was about to attack. Beasts of the desert. Get out of here, ads by Bid Gear. Chapter 112 Uncle Dodo who wants to save Juba, old man, don't be impulsive. Shin jumped down and stopped him. Although he was in control, the old man probably wouldn't be able to bear an instinctive reaction. Only then did the old man see clearly that there were people sitting on top of the two lizards. These two beasts were mounts. He put down the shovel in his hand, lowered his head and said.
Sorry, I've been a little bit blurry lately. Don't worry about it, old man.
Luffy also jumped off the lizard and patted the old man on the back hard. You were so brave just now, ha ha ha. Everyone got out of the car one after another and stopped Luffy from abusing the elderly. They almost made people angry. Shin controlled the two big lizards to sleep and treated them as tonight's food. There is one more important thing to do before eating, and that is to figure out the situation here.
Vivi stepped forward and asked. Excuse me, I heard that there are rebels in this city.
The old man who was kind just now suddenly turned cold. Why are you looking for the rebels? Do you want to join the rebel army? With that said, he waved the shovel to teach Vivi a lesson. Zoro and Sanji hurriedly grabbed him, but it was difficult to do anything, so they had to do this.
Under the moonlight, the old man finally saw Vivi's face clearly, gradually put down the shovel in his hand, and said excitedly.
Vivi. You're little Vivi, right? Hey, uncle, Vivi is not a princess. Ignoring Luffy, who was trying to conceal himself, the old man walked up to Vivi and took her hand. So you're still alive, that's great, you haven't recognized me yet? It's not your fault. After all, I've lost a lot of weight. After looking carefully, Vivi finally connected the old man in front of her with an elder in her memory. Are you, Uncle Dodo? That's right, how come? No wonder Vivi shed tears. 11 years ago, Dodo was assigned to develop Oasis Yuba. At that time, he was still a wealthy middle-aged uncle, completely different from the scrawny old man he is today. After learning Vivi's identity, Old Man Duo also told the whole story about Yuba. 3 years ago, like most areas, precipitation in Yuba completely stopped. However, Yuba itself is an oasis and has underground water. Logically speaking, it would not be dilapidated like this.
The reason for the desertion here is sandstorms. With the erosion day after day, the sand gradually swallowed up this oasis. The geographical location here is not good, no one will specifically transport supplies here, and the rebel base has also been moved from here to another oasis, Catalia. Although many citizens are disappointed with the king, Mr. Dodo has always believed that the king will not take away the country's reign. Those rebels are simply stupid in his eyes. Now that the king has lost his authority, the only one who can dissuade the rebels is Princess Vivi. Please stop them. Vivi nodded vigorously, with tears in her eyes. I will definitely stop the rebels.
The place where everyone replenished supplies was the port city rapeseed flowers, and next to it was Catalia. The next thing to do was to return the same way. Because they had to travel tomorrow, the two lizards escaped the fate of being eaten. It was getting late, and everyone planned to stay here for one night and set off again tomorrow morning. Even when they were sleeping, the Straw Hats were not honest. The boys' group started a pillow fight. Sanji got into Vivi's bed and was finally kicked out by Nami. Luffy, who is usually the noisiest, is not here. He and Shin are watching the old man digging a hole outside and squatting on the edge. Shin asks curiously. Old man, are you looking for water? If you need it, I can make a heavy rain here right now. Waving the shovel, Dodo smiled and replied, Thank you for your kindness, but it's not necessary. Why? Rootless water can't save this place. You can't stay in this place forever. Only by finding underground water can Juba truly come to life. Watch, Yuba will not be defeated by a mere sandstorm. Yoshi, I'm here to help too. Luffy jumped down and jumped into the deep pit. He started digging with his bare hands without using tools, and his efficiency was many times better than that of the old man. He just had no experience, so he just threw the dug sand away and almost buried Dodo in it. I didn't have much patience yet. Although I dug a hole that quickly surpassed Old Man Duo, I fell asleep in the deep hole in a blink of an eye. Looking at the young man who wanted to help him, Dodo couldn't help but laugh. He carried Luffy back to the dormitory, covered him with a blanket, and continued his work of digging holes. Want something to eat, old man? Shin came back carrying a big toad. Although it's not as good as the bento made by that perverted cook, it's still good for replenishing your physical strength. Everyone had dinner once before, but now it was late at night. It was just an ordinary person, Duo, who kept repeating physical work, so he was definitely hungry. He cried out for the king, cried for the suffering life of the people, and scolded the rebels from time to time, especially his son who was the leader. They met their boss, Crocodile. Unfortunately, the two Shadow Clone failed to hear the news. Crocodile discovered them on the spot. The leader of the rebel army is named Kusha. He is the old man's son and Vivi's childhood sweetheart. As long as Vivi sees Kusha, she may persuade the rebel army to withdraw its troops. The old man did not choose to rest and continued to dig underground water. Shin carried Luffy back to the dormitory. After settling the idiot captain, he began to sort out the memories from Shadow Clone.
Sure enough, is he knowledgeable? After confirming the opponent's appearance, they tried their best to release ninjutsu and made a fuss, but were quickly captured by Crocodile.
There was an extra sleeping participant at the dinner party between the two of them, and Shin had to wait for Luffy to eat, otherwise he would just grab what the old man had. The letter not only brought a giant toad, but also a bucket. The ruleless water cannot save Jubal, but it can quench his thirst. Two separate Mr. 2, used to contact Miss. All Sunday's Shadow Clone. Sleepwalk, don't worry about him. Under the persuasion of the letter, Uncle Dodo stopped working again, and the two took advantage of the darkness to have a late-night snack. Halfway through the meal, Luffy walked out of the dormitory with his eyes closed and his nose twitching. This part of the memory came from the two Shadow Clone hidden in Mr. 2. After a night and a day's journey, the senior cadres finally entered the rain feast. Shin also learned a lot about this country from Dodo's mouth. Sand Crocodile is known as a hero in this country, and even Dodo did not doubt his intentions. Eat, he didn't care what kind of treatment Mr. 2 would receive. He created another Shadow Clone and then disbanded it in order to pass on the current situation to the other two Shadow Clone. After revealing their true colors, the two Shadow Clones' eyes were on another woman, Miss. All Sunday. The two of them talked like this until late at night, and they stopped talking until Shin received the message from Shadow Clone. Is this what he is? Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 113, Death of Robin. There are 5 Shadow Clones separated by the letter. numbers 1 and 2 transform into the swan necks behind Mr. 2 and hide in them. Numbers 3 and 4 were originally the swan wings behind Mr. 2, but then they left and followed the senior cadres to Yuyan. Number 5 is the shadow clone who stayed on the ship. Now, numbers 1 and 2 disappeared after being discovered by Crocodile, while numbers 3 and 4 are playing in the rain feast above the secret room. This place is indeed luxurious. Even in the early morning, there is still an endless stream of guests inside. There is a woman with fluffy short hair, round earrings, a round necklace with thorns around her neck, wearing a black sleeveless vest with a navel exposed, and black leather pants with a cigarette in her mouth. Her hands are very smelly. Let's talk to number 3 first. I lost a lot playing cards. After the card game was disbanded, she met number 4 and lost a lot playing dice with him. The woman wanted to continue playing, but number 4 received the news that number 1 and number 2 had disbanded. The two leisurely shadow clones left Yuyan from different places in an instant to avoid Crocodile's cautious and abnormal search here.
They had inquired just now. The apparent boss of Yu Yan was Crocodile, but the person in charge of management was a middle-aged uncle. With the help of Sharingan, Shadow Clone easily met him. Just as Shin expected, Sand Crocodile definitely had no intention of managing the casino. The manager could only contact a woman named Robin.
After comparison, they confirmed that Robin and Miss were the same person all Sunday, which was enough. They waited outside the rain banquet for about 3 hours before re-entering the rain banquet on the 3rd. Even if it was an important meeting, 3 hours was almost enough. And number 4 is still wandering outside Yuyan. If number 3 has an accident, number 4 can still lurk. If successful, number 3 will also use a special method to notify number 4. The next steps are simple, just find a reason to trick Robin out. Where can I find the reason? Of course, asked the lovely manager. In the office on the 2nd floor of Yuyan, the middle-aged uncle was tied up with ropes. Fortunately, the uncle did not have a strong will, so number 3 easily forced out the information. Normally, he would not take the initiative to contact Robin. With his reputation as Shichibukai, no one would dare to cause trouble here. Business is going smoothly, and his subordinates don't have so many things to bother him. Only when a famous pirate appears in the casino, the manager will contact Robin. This is of course Crocodile's order. He will not dislike having many strong men under his command. Robin is responsible for all recruitment work, and Crocodile will not reveal his identity to his subordinates. If everything goes well, the Baroque Working Society will have one more member. If everything goes wrong, the next day there will be news that the pirates caused trouble and were killed by Crocodile on the spot. Are there any famous pirates? Thinking of this question, number 3 couldn't help but have a headache. He didn't know any famous pirates except his own and Luffy. Yes. Through the memory transmitted from the main body, number 3 thought of a person and immediately made a call. Naturally, it is impossible to let the manager come to fight. If he comes, he would rather die than deliver the information, which will be troublesome. 3 used the transformation technique to transform into his appearance, so that the voice and the phone bug's past appearance would not go wrong. Bulu Bulu, Buru Bulu, click, store manager, a big shot is coming to our place. He's Ace Sama, the captain of Whitebeard's 2nd division. Really? Don't tell me he's here for fun. What's his purpose? No. I don't know. It's just that he asked for you by name and is in my office now. I see. Click, the caller was quickly hung up, and number 3 began to wait a little uneasily. This reason was too rough, and he didn't know if Robin would contact Crocodile first. At this time, Robin was not in the secret room underground, but in a room on the 3rd floor of Yuyan. Although Crocodile at the lower level was not aware of the phone bug's content, Robin was considering whether to report it proactively. Why are the people from 4 Emperors looking for me by name? Leaning on the sofa in the room, Robin frowned and thought. Even if my identity is discovered, I won't be targeted by the strongest Whitebeard in the world, right? Do they also want ancient weapon? After thinking for a moment, Robin stood up and chose to meet the so-called Ace first. If the other party really comes for the ancient weapon, they can just use their hands to deal with the Sand Crocodile. I believe that facing the strongest man in the world, Cobra will choose to hand over the text of history himself. In this way, Alabasta can avoid war, and he can find the historical text as he wishes. Even if Cobra refuses to hand over, the current situation in this country will not be any worse no matter how bad it is.
With the sound of boots trampling, Robin gradually approached the manager's office. Strangely, there was no movement from inside.
She didn't think much about it, just thinking that Ace was a man who was not good at words, and pushed in the door unsuspectingly. Crunch, immerse yourself in Sharingan's magic. As soon as he opened the door, a pair of blood-red eyes came up very quickly. Before she could react, Robin fainted. Catching Robin, who was about to fall down, number 3 had a smile on his face. Things were much easier than he thought. Next, will I show mercy or will I torture myself to extract a confession? How about simply sending it to the main body? The Sand Crocodile trusts her so much that it can be considered a bargaining chip if she is handed over to the main body. No, let's interrogate her first. After all, this woman must have other thoughts if she took the initiative to be followed by Vivi. After much thought, number 3 decided to interrogate him first. First, he had to take the fainted Robin out. This was not a good place for a conversation. After the manager explained the matter, he was convinced by hypnosis. Normally no one would come to him, and if anyone came they would treat him as if he was sleeping.
Carefully cutting open the second floor window, number 3 used the super light heavy rock technique to fly Robin up.
The rainy land is very prosperous. It can't be said to be brightly lit, but there are no secret places suitable for hiding. Number 3 had no choice but to take Robin and fly to the desert area outside the rainland. On the way, he notified number 4 with Skycry. In fact, number 3 flew in the sky and spat at number 4. Number 4 found a store that was not closed, bought a rope inside, and walked out of the rainy area as well. No one knows himself better than himself, so number 4 naturally knows what number 3 is going to do. Number 3. How do you think I should be tied up?
Number 4. I don't think there's any need to tie him up, we're here to negotiate. No. 3. No, we are Shadow Clone. We will be gone if we are not careful.
Number 4. Then just tie your hands. Number 3. No, what if she is a demon fruit power that can be activated by just touching it with both hands? Number 4. Then tie the right foot with your left hand and the left foot with your right hand. Number 3. No, that's too weird, it would be bad if it arouses her sense of shame. Number 4. Then how do you tie me up? Number 3. Should be tied up like this. Earth-style rock prison pillar. The place where the 3 of them came was a pile of stones, and the stones above them extended downwards, forming a pillar connecting to the ground. After that, number 3 walked to the side of a stone that was only 1 person tall and stretched out his hand. Earth-style rock club. The rock shattered into pieces, forming a stone stick as thick as an arm. What are you doing standing still? Come up and tie me up. Seeing number 3 holding the stone stick horizontally and forming a cross with the stone pillar, number 4 was speechless for a while. Sometimes he really felt that he was quite embarrassed. But he is not a good guy. He bought a lot of ropes, so he probably has this plan. Use a rope to fix the stone stick to the stone pillar, then separate Robin's hands and tie them to the left and right sides of the stone stick respectively. Her legs were brought together and tied to the stone pillar. In order to prevent her from falling, a circle was tied around her neck and waist to hold her in place. Does it feel like a painting? What, the death of Jesus? But now it should be called, Death of Robin. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 114. The little story Robin and Shadow Clone had to tell in the wild. After tying up Robin, number 4 turned into a stone. If Robin really had the ability to resist and kill number 3, number 4 would be another insurance policy. Next, a water ball condensed in number 3's hand, and it was about to hit Robin's face. After careful inspection, the water ball dispersed, and number 3 stepped forward, gently pinched Robin's chin and shook her head. Robin's eyelids moved slightly, and number 3 immediately retreated 2 meters away to prevent being attacked. However, Robin did not have the ability to be so pervert. After her head was completely clear, she carefully looked at the surrounding environment. The time is early morning, and the location is a shadowed area where several boulders are stacked. The character has a hedgehog head in front of him. Next to him, there is his white top hat and a phone bug that has been kept in his 4th-dimensional pocket. Excuse me, is this phone bug contacting Crocodile? I must put it away. Mysterious ninja, Uchiha Shin. Robin didn't care about those things, but looked at number 3 with a smile. It looks like I'm being held captive, so what do you need me to do? Number 3 is full of question marks. Even if he is not loyal, there is no need to be so straightforward, right? How old are you this year? Robin's frank attitude made number 3 confused as to where to start the question, and he held back his age for a long time. Then he reacted and shook his head wildly, muttering to himself. Charming technique. What a terrifying ability. He immediately took a step back and then asked with a serious face. First of all, why were you able to betray your boss so easily? Secondly, state your plans and purposes. Finally, how old are you? Seeing number 3 shaking his head wildly and taking a step back, Robin's nervousness finally relaxed a little. At least the hedgehog in front of him wanted to ask for help, and there was a high probability that he wouldn't kill him directly. It's just that this mysterious ninja seems to have some mental problems. I hope he won't go crazy suddenly. After sorting out the thoughts in his mind, Robin put a smile on his face again. First of all, Crocodile and I only have a cooperative relationship. I am facing a life and death crisis. If I can survive by betraying a partner, it is still a good deal.
Yeah, reasonable. Secondly, their plan is called Utopia. It will start at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Mr. 2 and his men will pretend to be the king and the king's army and go to the port city of Rapeseed.
Attracting the rebels next door, in the end, Mr. 2 pretended to be a king and admitted to robbing the rainwater. Mr. 1 and Miss piloted a boat from the sky with 2 fingers, setting the whole city in flames.
The rebels' anger will be completely ignited. They will give up their remaining sanity and start attacking the capital Aruba.
When both the king's army and the rebel army are defeated, the Sand Crocodile and the Baroque Working Society will come out in full force to seize power in this country. Of course, this is only a superficial plan.
Then what? After not hearing the follow-up for a long time, number 3 frowned and asked Robin.
What's the secret plan? Robin didn't answer, but moved his neck. Sorry, The rope around my neck is strangling me so hard that I can't breathe. Can you put me down first? After thinking for a moment, number 3 stepped forward and loosened the rope from Robin. After all, her attitude was quite cooperative.
He did not let down his guard. Sharingan always stared at Robin's eyes, and could hypnosis her again at the slightest movement.
Robin was very cooperative and had no intention of attacking. After getting out of trouble, he put on his white top hat again, but the phone bug was still kept by the letter. Let me ask you another question. Did you let Vivi follow you on purpose? Yes, otherwise she would never be able to find Crocodile. Why? You didn't have a life or death crisis at that time, right? Why did you take the initiative to reveal flaws to hinder your and Sand Crocodile's plan? What's the reason? Robin, who was sitting on number 4, said calmly without hesitation, probably on a whim.
So what's your secret plan? Before that, Robin crossed his hands on his chest and smiled again. Let's talk in another way.
4 rounds of flowers, the petals flew away, and 2 arms grew out of number 3's waist and abdomen, grabbing number 3's hands. 2 arms also grew out of the shoulders, fixing his head and covering his eyes. Those eyes are really ominous. Rather than being interrogated like this, Robin prefers to take the initiative. It was the first time she was raped by Shadow Clone's Sharingan hypnosis at Whiskey Peak. She was also raped by these eyes' hypnosis before. She was not a fool and must cover these weird eyes. But he obviously underestimated the ability of the ninja. Number 3 made no move to resist, but a burst of smoke suddenly appeared from the stone under Robin. The accompanying bang turned into number 4, who moved quickly and grabbed Robin's neck from behind. The arms on number 3 turned into petals and disappeared, and his hands began to form seals. Magic Narakumi technique. Robin, who had just escaped from trouble, fell into number 4's arms again, with a look of fear on his face and almost crying. Number 3 didn't do anything to Robin. With her methods, number 3 and number 4 were quickly eliminated. And when she wanted to return to Yuyan, she suddenly returned to Ohara 20 years ago, and her body became the same as when she was a child. The pain deep in my heart was awakened, and as my thoughts surged, nightmares began to appear one after another. The island was under fire, Dr. Clover was shot, Buster Call was pressed, and Saren was frozen. But he didn't expect that Robin's biggest fear was the scene from 20 years ago and the Buster Call, and his plan came to nothing. When he came to his senses, Robin had already sat on the boat, with the burning Ohara behind him. Spellcaster number 3 frowned. He didn't get what he wanted. The Narakumi technique could allow the caster to see the most fearful scenes in his heart. Number 3 originally thought that what Robin was afraid of was the failure of the plan. Following her thoughts, she could learn the deeper level of the Utopia plan. Huh? Buster Call? No one escaped, no one survived, and everyone in Ohara was wiped out. Except for myself. Except for myself. In other words, Robin's purpose is to write the historical text, so what is the purpose of Sand Crocodile? Forget it, let's tie this woman up first. After improvement, non-existent virtual memories can be added according to the user's thoughts, and the user can also roughly know the situation in the illusion. Number 3 felt a headache, which had revealed all the shadows of his childhood. Can we still have a good conversation now? In the next 20 years, Robin continued to search for the historical text, but always encountered a Buster Call when he found it, and the island was destroyed by the Buster Call. A devil wearing sunglasses, 10 warships surrounding the island, an escape ship being bombarded. Trouble, this will definitely cause psychological trauma. Buster Call and the text of history, yet she always survives the Buster Call. Once, twice. Until Alabasta was also destroyed by Buster Call, and Robin finally stopped escaping and chose to die here. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 115 Robin's telecommunications connection. When Robin woke up again, he returned to the posture of Robin's death, and the hedgehog's head was still in front of him. It was as if nothing happened before, and he was still in the state of being kidnapped just now. But the memory in her mind would not lie. The painful memories made her bite her lips tightly. The remaining tears on her face made her look even more pitiful. Who are you? Uchiha Shin is a ninja. Number 3 stood up and answered the question reflexively. I'm sorry to remind you of bad memories, but you were the one who started it, so we're even. Your goal is the historical text, right? Seeing the confident appearance of the hedgehog in front of him, Robin calmed down his emotions and returned to his usual calm state. Yes, my purpose is the historical text. What is that? It's something that records history in ancient writing. I didn't expect you to be an archaeologist. I'm so disrespectful. So now can you tell me the true purpose of Crocodile? Robin did not hesitate too much. She had no other choice in this situation. Sand Crocodile still needed to interpret the historical text by herself. Even if the secret was leaked now, Sand Crocodile would not kill her. Ancient weapon, Pluton. What the hell is that? Robin took a deep breath and didn't care about the illiterate. The legendary ancient weapon is said to have the ability to destroy an island with one shot. According to clues, the historical text is sleeping somewhere in this country, and it may contain information about Pluton. Reasonable. After listening to this, number 3 put Robin down again and asked again. Your purpose is to write the historical text, right? Is this why you cooperate with Sand Crocodile? That's right. That'll be easy. Ms. Robin, are you interested in discussing cooperation? Number three's idea is simple. The current news is enough to prevent the rebel army and the king's army from starting a war. The next step is to defeat Crocodile. On the condition that Robin read the historical text afterwards, he instigated her to act as an internal agent around the Sand Crocodile, so as to prevent the Sand Crocodile from having any backup plans before everyone could react in time. For this suggestion, Robin is right. Her purpose is only the historical text, and she has a greater chance of winning by betting on both ends. In order to facilitate contact, number 3 also told her the number of the phone bug. At 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, Sand Crocodile will go out to fight pirates and maintain his heroic halo. The two agreed to have a call at that time. Once again, the super light heavy rock technique was used to send Robin back to the rain banquet. Because Robin was awake this time, number 3 also carried her in a more gentlemanly manner. Then number 3 dissipated on its own and transmitted the message back to the main body, while number 4 stayed here to avoid other follow-up situations. The time is now approaching 4 o'clock, and there are still about 27 hours before the Utopia project begins. Yuba, inside the Straw Hat's temporary dormitory. Shin received the memories from number 3's disbandment. This time the shadow clone left far longer than before. He was stunned for a while before he recovered. After patting his slightly aching head, he sorted through the memories in his mind and understood the whole process. But he didn't wake everyone up now. Everyone had been tired for the whole day, and his condition was also very bad. Coupled with the fatigue caused by the dissipation of the shadow clone, he had better wait until he woke up to talk about anything. Everyone slept until early in the morning and didn't wake up until the sun had completely risen. After packing their luggage, Luffy took a glass of Juba's water dug out by Uncle Dodo, got on his mount, and everyone headed towards Cagliost's location. Shin plans to leave Yuba before telling everyone about the plan for Utopia. There is no need to cause trouble to Uncle Dodo. Okay everyone, let's stop for a moment. The companions all looked puzzled. Isn't the most important thing now to return to Caglios? Gathering everyone together, Shin took out the simple map that Vivi had drawn previously. According to reliable information, I got all the plans of Sand Crocodile. Nani. *7 Sanji took a deep breath of cigarette. The impact of this news was a bit too great. Really or not, now is not the time to fool around. I got it from a beautiful older sister, that must be true. Is it the shadow clone that you followed, that human demon last time? Zoro still remembers that human demon with special abilities, and also remembers that Shin put several shadow clones on him. That's right. Anyway, listen to me first. At 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, in the port city of Rapeseed, Mr. 2 will pretend to be a king and admit that he took away the country's reign. After explaining the entire plan to everyone, including the so-called historical text, Pluton and the conditions for instigating Robin's rebellion, Vivi was still in shock. She didn't expect Crocodile's purpose to be so big. Ask a question. Nami-san, please speak. Even if Mr. 2 pretends to be the king, but the real king is still in the palace, if 2 kings appear at the same time, wouldn't this plan be full of loopholes? I forgot to ask. Bulu Bulu, Buru Bulu, exactly, let's ask Robin. Click, I am Monkey D. Luffy, the man who will become the Pirate King. Captain Idiot, I don't need you to introduce yourself. He hurriedly pulled away the obstructing captain, but a perverted Kappa picked up the phone. Moses, this is Mr. Prince. Every one of you, please don't cause trouble here. Miss Nami, who is rough, is so pretty. After a while of commotion, the phone was passed to Vivi, and then the formal conversation began. Miss. All Sunday? Long time no see, Miss. Wednesday. No, I should call you Princess Vivi now. After the two ladies communicated, 2 things were quickly determined. First, before the Utopia project begins, Mr. 4 and Miss Christmas will sneak into the palace and kidnap the king to fill the loophole of the 2 kings appearing at the same time. Second, Hashirama is still alive and on his way here. After learning these 2 pieces of news, Vivi breathed a sigh of relief. The entire Utopia plan unfolded before her eyes, and Hashirama was still alive. Stopping war is no longer as far away as it once was. At the same time, Vivi agreed to Robin's request to watch the historical text, but put forward a condition that she would be under the supervision of the royal family in the future. In order to prevent Robin from really finding Pluton and destroying the world, Vivi had no choice but to take this step. Robin agreed without any psychological burden. Supervision? Who can supervise myself who has 20 years of escape experience? After hanging up the phone, a smile appeared on Vivi's face. Her next goal was clear. This country could really be saved. Everyone, we just need to go to Rapeseed Flowers and stop Mr. 2 and the others, and the war will not start. I won't do it. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 116 Delicious Meat. I won't do it. An unexpected voice came. It was Luffy, who was pinned down by Shin. Shin was stunned for a moment and pulled away from Luffy. He probably understood what Luffy was going to do. But there are still people who don't understand. Sanji said. Now is not the time to fool around, Luffy. We need to go back to stop the rebels now. Boring. What, you bastard? Sanji bared his teeth and tried to argue, but fortunately Shin stopped him. Whether it's the rebels or those senior agents. Even if we stop the war and defeat them, will the Sand Crocodile stop moving? The partners calmed down one after another. What Luffy said was true. If the mastermind was not defeated, various accidents would happen in this country sooner or later. However, Vivi never mentioned asking for help in defeating the sand crocodile. You are too naive. You don't want anyone to sacrifice. I hope everyone is safe. What's wrong with this? I want everyone to survive. What's wrong with this? Everyone survived. What about you? Me. Are you going to deal with crocodile yourself? The letter added Vivi's unfinished words on the side. You don't want citizens to sacrifice, so you want to stop the rebels. You don't want us to sacrifice, so you never asked us to help deal with crocodile. There's no need to fight Vivi by yourself. Shin stood behind her and put her right hand on Vivi's left shoulder. Yes, we are companions, aren't we? Luffy stood up, faced Vivi, and put his right hand on Vivi's right shoulder. If you want to fight hard, then fight with our lives too. Feeling the weight of the two hands on her shoulders, Vivi couldn't help crying. She had always wanted to fight alone to save everyone, but she didn't notice that there were already companions beside her. Well, thank you. Nami rushed over and hugged her, with a doting smile on her face. Do you still want to tell us these things now? That's right, Vivi-chan, I will kick down all those who bully you. Just go to the place and tell me who to kill. A warrior who saved the country, this title suits me very well, Mr. Usopp. I will also try my best to help everyone. The partners spoke one after another, saying that they would unite with Vivi. Afterwards, Shin called everyone for another pre-war meeting. Although we want to defeat Crocodile, there are currently 3 places where manpower is needed. According to our speed, it is impossible to make it all in time if we march in a unified manner. So, we need to divide our forces into 3 groups. The first route is the port city rapeseed flowers. Here we need 3 people and my shadow clone. The shadow clone carries the stone plate to rain to prevent the situation from getting worse after failure. At the same time, the enemies here include Mr. 1 and his partner Miss 2 Fingers, Mr. 2, and the employees of Baroque Works. The second route, Luffy and I, go to the Rainland and defeat Crocodile. The third road, the palace, the enemies here are Mr. 4 and his partner Miss Merry Christmas. What do you think, Luffy? Shin raised his head to ask the captain's opinion, but found that everyone else was sitting here obediently. Even Sanji and Zoro were crowded here, pushing each other. Only Luffy was missing. At the same time, a voice came. Rubber rubber, pistol. A lizard lost control, and Shin seemed to have a bad premonition. Eat, why hit it? We will still have to rely on them to travel. I am hungry. Be a bastard in your next life, you bastard captain. Ah. With lizard meat in his mouth and a bag on his head, Luffy was held down by Shin and listened to the entire planning process. After finishing the matter, he said nonchalantly, I just want to be able to fight crocodiles. Alas, Ninja sighed, he shouldn't have had hope in this idiot captain. Then he frowned and began to think about personnel allocation. He and Luffy must deal with Crocodile. The sand crocodile is currently showing his intelligence and strength. The port city needs Zoro and Sanji to go together, Miss. If you have 2 fingers, leave it to Usopp. Then Vivi and Nami rushed to the palace. There were guards in the palace. As long as they were on guard against Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas, there wouldn't be much of a problem. As for Chopper, just follow him to the palace. Team Rapeseed is followed by Shadow Clone, and Team Rain is the main body of Shin. They can all use healing jutsu to treat certain injuries. Following Chopper to the palace can avoid being injured by enemies on the road. At the same time, the palace team still rides camels. The colored camel is not allowed for boys to ride, but it doesn't matter, Chopper is an animal. But you need to cross the river to get to Aruba. Split another Shadow Clone to follow them. Just like that, the teams are assigned. Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, and Shadow Clone number 1 went to the port city of Rapeseed to face Mr. 1, Miss 2 Fingers, and Mr. 2. Nami, Vivi, Chopper, Shadow Clone number 2 go to Aruba to face Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas. Luffy and Shin head to the Rainland to fight against Crocodile. Why do you have to listen to your orders from a hedgehog? You seem to have a strong opinion, Chef. Do you want to obey the captain's orders? The look of trust signaled Sanji to look at Luffy. At this time, Luffy picked up the lizard meat and brought it close to the camel's mouth. When the camel was about to bite it, he immediately withdrew it and stuffed it into his own mouth. Then he had a silly laugh and started fighting with the camel. I want to team up with Nami-san and Vivi-chan. Sanji expressed his opinion again. Just rest here, weak cook, I can take care of everyone by myself. Really, Zoro, you must protect me when the time comes. I'd better follow you, Lucci's swordsman, you can't find the place even after walking for 3 days. Huh? If you want to show the way so much, I'll hang you on the lizard's nose and use it as a compass. Shin, I entrust my life to you. The Rapeseed team is undoubtedly the group with the biggest problem. Zoro and Sanji quarreled again. Usopp held the number 1 Shadow Clone for protection. Fortunately, there was a big killer here. Nami, advise the 3 of them, give it to me. Boom. 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 Okay, so fast, I left out irrelevant details. The phone bugs were distributed to everyone for communication. Only Nami in the palace team had a phone bug, so Nobu assigned his phone bug to Chopper. In order not to delay, Team Rapeseed will cross directly through the river and not return to Aluma to drive the melee. In this way, the Royal Palace team rode camels and the Rapeseed Flower team rode lizards and started their operations separately. I'm so envious, I also want to ride a lizard. What did you eat just now? It's delicious meat. Don't hang on to me, you bastard, I want to fly. No, save chakra and prepare for battle, but I'm so tired from walking. You will have a mount when you encounter a wild beast. Get off me quickly, you bastard, ads by Big Gear. Chapter 117 The Actions of the King's Army and the Rebel Army. There are still about 20 hours before the official start of Utopia, so there is no doubt that Team Luffy and Team Rapeseed can arrive. Only the Palace team, because the kidnapping operation was carried out before the plan started, was not sure whether they could catch up. At this time, the Palace team, Nami and Vivi, were riding camels. After a period of friendly exchanges, Chopper was allowed to lie on the camel's neck. Shadow Clone number 2 naturally couldn't squeeze in here. He turned into a little bird and stood on Nami's shoulder. At the same time, he was still observing the surroundings. The camel's speed was too slow. It was best to find a beast to control and move forward at full speed. Time passed like this in the actions of all parties. The Straw Hats rushed to various places in 3 groups. Mr. 1 and Miss were rushing to the port city Rapeseed with their fingers, and Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas were rushing to the palace. The rebels in Catalia are collecting weapons and equipment. These items are provided to them by unknown sellers. Compared with the prices on the market, they are simply free. Kosha, the leader of the rebel army, is not a fool. This seller is simply promoting the war. At the same time, his childhood experience makes him still miss the king. But sitting in this position, whether the war started or not did not change his opinion alone, not to mention that all the evidence now pointed to the king. Everyone in the rebel army couldn't wait to dismount the king and snatch the reign back. Among them was a child named Kappa, who was carrying a school bag filled with simple weapons such as hammers. Why? I have the right to join the rebel army, right? I hate the king, let me fight with you. It is naturally impossible for the rebel army to recruit child labor. Kosha rejected Kappa's request to join the war and took him to a patient. This man's hands were missing, and a large piece of flesh was missing from his right shoulder, as if it had been bitten by a beast. He became like this to protect me during the battle. If that's not enough, I'll take you to the hospital and visit the cemetery. This kind of thing. Kappa trembled for a moment, but still mustered up the courage to shout. I'm not afraid at all. My friend in Aluma got sick and died, and it was all the fault of that guy who stole the rainwater. I also want to fight, get hurt, and die. I'm not afraid of any of it. Go back, we don't have the same views. We were all scared to death and didn't want to fight. Then why are you still fighting? Because this country needs war. War is not an end but a means. If everyone can live and work in peace and contentment, who would want to start a war? Seeing what else Kappa wanted to say, Kosha shouted. Go back. This is not the place for a kid like you. After Kappa left, Kosha calmed down his emotions, reconvened the various cadres of the rebel army, and issued the final order. As soon as the weapons are ready, launch a general attack on Urupana. Yes, it's so annoying. If I say no, I just can't. Urupana, interior of the palace. Cobra was sitting on the throne. He should have paid attention to etiquette and shouted regardless of his appearance. Do you have to fight back because you were hit? This is not a fight between kids. In front of him were 2 ministers of the country, Yaka the Jackal and Bell the Falcon, who were also adjutants of the Kingdom Guard. Yaka also temporarily serves as the captain of the Kingdom Guard, and he wants to let Cobra understand that the situation is urgent. Your Majesty the King. This is related to the life and death of the country. So what, are you going to let me watch the citizens kill each other?
Listen, the most important thing in the country is not me, the king, but the people.
Ever since the dancing fans incident, this country has been controlled by someone. What we have to do is to find the murderer behind the scenes, not to fight with the rebels. But His Majesty the King, needless to say, if I say no, it means no. At the end of the meeting, Gaka and Bell's initiative was still not adopted. The maximum extent allowed by the king is suppression, that is, defense. While defending, you must also pay attention to killing as few enemies as possible. Even with the comfort of Yaka and Bell, there is still a lot of resentment within the army. Even if they can't take the initiative to attack, they can't even use their full strength to defend. Perhaps this was one of the reasons why the king's troops rebelled previously. The main reason may be that they lost trust in the king. Lord Ka. Lord Bell. A soldier hurried over and shouted. His Majesty the King is calling you to go to the palace. Karu is back. What? *2 The two of them had watched Vivi grow up, so they naturally knew the relationship between Karu and Vivi, and hurried to the king's palace. Karu, who was flying over, was drinking water crazily. Because he wanted to pursue speed, he didn't bring much water with him when he set off. Fortunately, it successfully completed its mission and sent Vivi's letter to Cobra, which recorded the information she and Ikaram investigated. Cobra finally understood who was behind the scenes, the hero who fought against pirates, Shichibukai, Crocodile. What if the palace is captured? Yes. Even if the king's army is wiped out, even if the palace collapses, as long as the sand crocodile is defeated, the people will rebuild the country on the ruins. Now that we know the enemy's true identity, prepare for the expedition immediately. I was so careless. I never doubted him because he was on the side of the government. Bell, you go to Rainfield to scout first. Bell added on the side, and the Rainland is too far away from here. If we go on an expedition, the rebels will take the opportunity to attack the palace. With his back turned to his two loyal men, Cobra ordered. Your Majesty the King. With all due respect, Sand Crocodile's reputation among civilians is higher than yours. The red line is Luffy and Shin, the blue line is the Royal Palace team, the green line is the Rapeseed team, the purple circle is where the Melee is docked, and the middle is the Santola River Channel. The current situation is that the rebel army is about to attack Urupana, the king's army will set off to attack Uti tomorrow morning, and the Straw Hats are divided into 3 groups at Yuba. This is a race against time. There are still 17 hours before the Utopia project begins. I said it right? The most important thing in a country is its people. If we act hastily, it will only add fuel to the fire. Yaka, convene a pre-war meeting immediately to gather the soldiers. Let's go out tomorrow morning and march the whole army to the Rainy Land. After hearing this order, Yaka and Bell, after reading the letter, hurriedly retorted. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 118 The Actions of the Palace Team 1. How long do we have to go? Hurry, hurry. In the vast desert, the dark purple giant scorpion drew a straight line and headed towards the Rainy Land. Luffy and Shin were on the back of the giant scorpion, waiting for the end of the journey. The sun had already set and was about to rise again. QG, plus, % the time is 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours before the Utopia project starts. According to Shin's estimate, it would take about an hour to reach the rainy place. The first to arrive at the destination was the palace team. He didn't reach the palace first, but found the enemy target first. At the beginning of the journey, Shadow Clone quickly found a giant crab and accelerated its progress. Giant catfish underwater helped several people cross the Sandora River. It was a long walk across the waterway, and at this critical moment, no one planned to rest. Until it was close to 5 o'clock, Shadow Clone took the telescope from Nami's hand and flew up to the sky to check the situation. It would be best if we could find another beast. Is that the palace? The terrain of Urupana is very special. The entire city is built on a hill. To enter the palace, you need to climb a long staircase first. The high terrain allowed Shadow Clone number 2 to see it as soon as it took off. The main entrance to Urupana was naturally smooth, but there were disconnected peaks behind and on the sides. Shadow Clone number 2 raised the telescope to check the situation in the palace, but noticed 3 figures on the mountain. How could anyone climb the mountain at night? Shadow Clone number 3 increased the magnification of the telescope. Merry Christmas, Mr. 4 and Miss. Is the old man who was tied up Vivi's father. Shin didn't know what Vivi's father looked like, and he had never met him. Even when Mr. 2 was performing, Shin was restoring chakra on the bow of the boat. Wait a moment. What's wrong? Have you found the enemy? Vivi, does your father look like this? Boom. Shadow Clone number 2 turned into Cobra. Vivi had a bad feeling in her heart and nodded with an ugly expression. He was caught. Hearing this answer, Vivi just nodded silently, having already had a premonition in her heart. Then let's go rescue him now. Chopper raised his hoof and prepared to attack aggressively. No, Shadow Clone 2 rejected the offer. The other side may know about my illusion ability, so a frontal attack would be inappropriate. Crocodile needs the king alive to ask for news about the text of history. Vivi's father is still safe now. And the terrain there is very high. If you want to be able to act as a surprise force, you have to fly. I also need to keep the chakra to send you to the sky. Continue to return to the palace, we are looking for support. None of the 3 people had any objections to this proposal. Aruba was not far away from everyone. With the continuous acceleration of the camels, everyone arrived at the place in about half an hour. Perhaps because of Yaka's summons and the fact that it was late at night, no one encountered the soldiers guarding the city, and no residents were walking around on the streets. In this way, he successfully walked to the palace before encountering an obstacle. Travelers on camels over there, stop, ahead is the palace of the royal family. It's me. Everyone got off the camel, and Vivi stepped forward and lifted her hood, trying to clear her face and pass. Princess Vivi, the soldier exclaimed, causing other soldiers to stop and check. I didn't expect you to be alive, please come in. The facial recognition was successful, and the 4 people plus 1 camel successfully entered the palace. Who do we go to now? Uncle Bell, he has demon fruit power and can fly. So awesome, why don't you compliment me, Chopper? The letter is so amazing. While walking forward and talking, Vivi felt obviously relaxed because she was back in a familiar environment. Boom. Careful. The sound of gunfire came, and Nami seemed to have sensed it in advance. He jumped up and threw Vivi to the ground, avoiding the attack. Looking in the direction of the smoke, I saw that the shooter was a kingdom soldier with a sinister expression on his face. His position was very concealed, and other kingdom soldiers would not notice that he had fired the shot. But Shin still noticed the smoke from his gun. In order to protect himself, Shadow Clone chose to let other soldiers arrest him. That guy is the criminal. The soldiers who came after hearing the gunshots swarmed forward, and the second Shadow Clone's attention shifted to Vivi and Nami. Chopper was searching Vivi up and down. Wanted to see if she was injured. Chopper-kun, I'm fine. Really? That's great. Chopper breathed a sigh of relief and turned into his human form to help the two of them. Shadow Clone number 2 remembered Nami's reaction just now, and couldn't help but smile. It seems that the special training before was not ineffective, Nami. Then I don't need to train anymore. No, let's wait until you wake up to see the color. Chi, what is the color of knowledge? Hey, Chopper, you don't know yet. I'll tell you later. While several people were talking, the soldiers had already arrested the shooter. Your Highness Princess. This is the prisoner. You bastard, why did you shoot? I accidentally misfired. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, please spare me, Princess Vivi. The soldiers were furious, and the shooter cried and begged for mercy. Everyone stay away. Shadow Clone number 2 drove this group of people away. Unless he just threw them away after using them, no one could guarantee that there were no other people with evil intentions hidden among these soldiers. After Vivi nodded, the soldiers quickly evacuated, and the shooter was tied up tightly and left in place. Chopper, come on, oh. Leave it to me. Chopper in human form raised his hands, and then looked at Shadow Clone number 2 in confusion. What do you want me for? Stand in front of me as a shield. If this guy hurts me, I will disappear. Chopper looked confused for a few seconds, but still put on a generous and sacrificial expression and stood in front of Shadow Clone number 2. The two of them stepped forward gradually. The shooter seemed to know that he had been exposed and changed his statement. Let me go, I won't dare again, go and slap him twice. Snapped. Snapped. Chopper stepped forward without hesitation and slapped him twice. Shadow Clone number 2, who was hiding behind him, then asked. Are you from Baroque Works? 2 more slaps? Snapped. Snapped. Chopper's movement was not small, the hood was lifted, and Shadow Clone number 2 noticed the tattoo on the neck of the shooter. Chopper, knock him out. After confirming that the shooter had fainted, Shadow Clone number 2 called the former Miss Wednesday to come and check, and sure enough, it was the logo of Baroque Works. Trouble, have all their people infiltrated into the king's army? Shadow Clone number 2 frowned. There were bad people among the crowd. We can't let the soldiers get closer. Do you have any other way to contact Belle? Vivi shook her head. Then we can only use the most primitive method. Chopper, come on. We can't let the soldiers get close, but we can let Chopper go over and report. Let Falcon Belle come here to meet Princess Vivi. Ah, the Tanuki spoke. I'm a reindeer. Look, I have horns. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 119 The Palace Team's Action 2. The soldiers did not call Belle the Falcon, because at this time Belle had already set off to the Rainy Land to investigate information. They called another lieutenant, Yaka of the Jackal, who was also one of Vivi's trustworthy people. In order to speed up, Yaka even activated his fruit ability, and Shin only saw a black werewolf running towards him. He almost couldn't help but take action, but luckily Vivi stopped him. Your Highness Princess. You are finally back. The king has been worried about you. Uncle Yaka, let's not talk about this for now. Please order a thorough investigation of the king's army. Anyone who finds this mark will be arrested on the spot. Vivi pointed to the tattoo of the person who fired the shot. This is the mark of Baroque Works. Yaka returned to human form at this time, and his face, which was not gentle at all, became even more ugly. Are you from Crocodile? I didn't expect there to be some in the king's army. Don't worry, princess, leave it to me. With that, Yaka was about to turn around and supervise the search operation in person, but Vivi stopped him again. Uncle Yaka, my father has been kidnapped now. Please come with us to rescue him. Nani? Yaka was furious. Who on earth could pass through the obstacles of the palace and steal the king quietly? But Yaka did not doubt Vivi's intention, and immediately drew his weapon and set off to rescue the king. After Vivi's explanation, Yaka understood that this operation could not bring too many people, and called a trustworthy soldier to spread the investigation of the traitor. Yaka followed a few people to act together. Nami and the two rode camels, Gaka transformed into beast form, Chopper transformed into deer form, and Shadow Clone number 2 transformed into a bird and stood on Nami's shoulders. On the way, Nami took out a new weapon, a 3-section stick modified by Usopp, called the Weather Stick. Shadow Clone number 2 saw the tangled look on Nami's face. Unlike the enemies he encountered before, Nami knew that the top 5 digital agents were all demon fruit power. If you're scared, just say so. I can ask the main body to use the spiritualization technique to help. No, I'm a pirate too. Everyone is facing a strong enemy, and I can't hold back. Mr. 4 and others were not far from the palace, and everyone arrived quickly. At the foot of the mountain, Shadow Clone number 2 carried a large plank, and Nami and 4 others stood on top. Stand still, the speed will be very fast this time. Earth-style ultra-light heavy rock technique. Different from the previous slow climbs, Shadow Clone number 2 took action and instantly sprinted upwards with the board. Nami, who was timid before, covered her mouth to stifle her scream this time. Now calling out this so-called surprise soldier would have no effect. In a few breaths, everyone had reached the top of the mountain and saw Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas, as well as Cobra who was tied up. Release the king quickly. Without saying a word, Yaka transformed into a human animal form, roared angrily, drew a sword and launched an attack. Who is it? Miss Merry Christmas discovered the enemy first. Mr. 4 seemed to have cerebellar dementia, his eyes were dull and unresponsive. Idiot. Miss Merry Christmas kicked Mr. 4 away to prevent his teammates from being killed with a knife. The attack missed, but it forced the two of them away. Gacker quickly walked to Cobra and cut the rope. Miss Merry Christmas also saw a few people. She quickly lowered her head and pressed Mr. 4's head down. That's the hedgehog head, Mr. 2 said. Be careful not to look into his eyes. Good, Mr. 4 responded slowly and lowered the cannon behind him. The cannon quickly turned into a dachshund, their partner. The cannon that ate the dachshund fruit could spray cannonballs from its mouth. Then Mr. 4 took out his weapon, a thick baseball bat. Miss Merry Christmas is a zone with mole fruit ability, although she looks like a gray penguin. Nami assembled the weather stick, Vivi took out her chain, Chopper transformed into an adult form, and Yaka raised his sword after rescuing the king. The two sides were at war with each other, and Shadow Clone number 2 looked helpless. Chakra could support him to release at most 2 small illusions, but the enemy on the opposite side didn't even look at him, leaving him with no chance to release them. The silence was broken by a cannonball fired by the dachshund, aimed at the Nami side, which had more people. Without further words, the battle between the two sides began. Yaka took the opportunity to slash at Mr. 4, but Mr. 4, who entered the battle, had some ideas and turned around to block the attack. Yaka couldn't help but panic at the huge power coming from the hilt of the sword. This opponent's strength was beyond his imagination. After dodging the shells, Chopper also targeted Mr. 4, he was still suppressing Yaka, exposing his back. Then a heavy punch was thrown out, hitting Mr. 4 in the back of the head. With a shake of his head, Mr. 4's hand couldn't help but relax, and Yaka took the opportunity to push him to the side. After rubbing his head, Mr. 4 raised his weapon again, but he didn't know how to fight. Usually, Miss Merry Christmas or a dachshund came to cooperate with him. At this time, there was no sign of them around, only Chopper and Yaka standing side by side in front of them. Thank you just now. You are very strong. Hey, Chopper's bang became smaller, his hands moved as if they were boneless, and a smile appeared on his face. Even if you say that, I'm not happy at all, boom. Mr. 4 raised a baseball bat and hit him with no skills, just brute force. Yaka picked up the proud Chopper and retreated in time to avoid the blow. Don't be distracted during the battle, the enemy has not fallen yet. Oh. The two clashed with Mr. 4 again. The opponent was powerful but lacked agility. For a while, it was difficult for the three of them to tell the difference. Not far away, Vivi and Nami were back to back, and around them, there were caves one after another. Miss. I don't know which hole the voice of Merry Christmas came from. I am a mole man who ate mole fruit, it's obviously an ugly penguin. You smooth-tongued guy, let's start with you. Nami sensed the danger and hurriedly said. Vivi. Jump. The two spread out and jumped away, a pair of claws emerging from their previous positions, followed closely by a long snout. Miss Merry Christmas looked unhappy, and her invincible attack was just dodged. He had to crawl into the hole again and wait for the opportunity. The battlefield between the three of them was also in a stalemate. Nami and Nami did not have enough attack methods to hit the enemy. Miss Merry Christmas attacks were always predicted and dodged by Nami. Although there will be several situations that Nami cannot predict, the attacks she inflicts are not enough to kill in one hit. Vivi does not have this ability, so Nami always stands with Vivi, and even if they are separated for a short time, they will quickly reunite. After winning this battle, Nami's sense of knowledge will be awakened, right? Miss Merry Christmas. Didn't you think of helping Mr. 2 first and defeating the enemies one by one? But Shadow Clone number 2 is sitting cross-legged between the two battlefields. Miss Merry Christmas is very afraid of this mysterious hedgehog head. When the two Shadow Clone hiding in Mr. 2 made a fuss, she had seen all kinds of magical abilities like hedgehog head. As everyone knows, Shadow Clone number 2 is also in a panic at this time, and his remaining chakra cannot even release a single ninjutsu. Sitting here at this time is just pretending, which is the last bit of help on the battlefield. Previously, after dodging the explosion, Shadow Clone number 2 immediately noticed the dachshund. The two enemies knew to keep their heads down, but the dachshund did not know. Shin immediately hypnosis it, but found that once hypnosis, the dachshund actually turned into a cannon. He immediately rushed over to pick up the cannon. He asked the king which location below was the most desolate and uninhabited. After getting the answer, he threw the cannon down. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 120 The Palace Team's Action 3. Under the silent control of Shadow Clone number 2, the battlefield was completely divided into two. Miss Merry Christmas didn't dare to break through the obstruction of Shadow Clone and go to the rescue. Mr. 4 was entangled by Chopper and Yaka and couldn't escape. Shadow Clone and the rescued King Cobra have become the most laid-back people. Vivi, a member of the royal family, has developed certain combat abilities because she wants to join the Baroque works. As a king, Cobra naturally did not have this experience, so he could only stare at his daughter with worried eyes. At this time, Vivi and Nami already had a lot of injuries on their bodies, mainly concentrated on their lower bodies, all caused by Miss Merry Christmas' surprise attack. In the situation, Miss Merry Christmas had the upper hand, but she didn't feel happy at all, and she was very confused. Do you want to run away now? But if you fail the mission, you will definitely be killed by Shichibukai. The mysterious hedgehog is here too, and this battle is definitely unwinnable. What to do? What to do? If you fail the escape mission directly, you will be executed by the sand crocodile afterwards, and you cannot win the battle against the hedgehog head. But why doesn't this hedgehog head take action directly? Recalling that Nami made fewer and fewer mistakes when dodging attacks, Miss Merry Christmas looked ugly. Do you think of me as a tool to train those two little girls? Damn you guy. An idea flashed in her mind, and she thought of a good idea. Drag these two little girls underground, kidnap the king and run away while the hedgehog is looking for him. What to do with Mr. 4? If you are not familiar with it, let it fend for itself. After thinking of a way, Miss Merry Christmas's attacks increased in frequency. Not only did they spring out from the holes under their feet, but the surrounding holes were all her attack routes. But this didn't have much effect. Nami became more and more proficient in dodging attacks, and even took the time to read the weapon manual. Let me see, Sunny, weather. Nami and Vivi dodged an attack and formed a triangle with the 3 sticks in their hands. With a bang, 2 pigeons flew out. This thing has no use. As long as it is assembled into a gun shape, it will be weatherproof for many days. With a bang, flowers sprouted from the front end of the 3-cut stick. Nami-san, the real attack is on the back. Seeing that Nami still couldn't find the key, Vivi could only remind her that she had seen Usopp making weather sticks and writing instructions. Back to back, Misatsu's Merry Christmas offensive became more intense, and Nami looked directly at the last line. Tornado weather. Assemble the weather sticks into a T shape, hold the gun in your hand, and aim one at the enemy. Pigeon dolls with telescopic springs will shoot out from both ends of the rod. As it rotates, the telescopic springs will wrap around the enemy, like shooting the enemy out like a cannon. This is the super kill prepared by Mr. Usopp. You're such a narcissist. Make me a long-range special move, you bastard. Nami couldn't help complaining. If he did this, he would still have to get close to the enemy, and he would have to give the pigeon doll time to shoot out and rotate. The mouse man he was dealing with now was extremely flexible. How could he have such an opportunity? Vivi. Let's do this later. Nami and Vivi whispered, and Vivi nodded. At your feet. Get out of the way. Miss Merry Christmas looked ugly, and her several attacks failed. But soon a glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. This time, Vivi and Nami spread out to avoid. Nami, who was agile, couldn't catch them, but Vivi, who was alone, could. She dived underground again, waiting for an opportunity. See and hear color, feel breath, feel breath. After being separated, Nami closed her eyes and carefully experienced the mysterious feeling. Before, she could only passively trigger the sense of sight, and could only have fuzzy sensing when she encountered danger. Vivi was also too close that time, and it was possible that she was accidentally injured, so she could sense it. Now she has to take the initiative to sense a person's life breath. She doesn't need to sense any attack path, as long as she can sense when the ugly penguin breaks out of the ground. Right now, Vivi immediately prepared for battle, but it was a little late. Miss Christmas came out of a hole on the left side. Seeing that the claws were about to touch Vivi's body, she lowered her head in time to avoid the blow, but her long hair was inevitably cut off. Miss Merry Christmas crawled into the hole and prepared for the next attack. Nami's face was full of apologies, but Vivi shook her head at her, indicating that she was fine. After several successive attacks, Nami was always one step late, and Vivi suffered a lot of injuries. Under this tense atmosphere, Nami finally sensed the location of Miss Merry Christmas. Right now, at your feet. Vivi jumped back immediately, and Miss Merry Christmas emerged from the earth at the same time. She missed the hit and wanted to return to the ground, but 2 peacock chains tied her arms.
What is this? What are you going to do? Miss Merry Christmas pulled the chain and wanted to go back underground.
Vivi stood at the edge of the hole and pulled Miss Merry Christmas upward with force. Nami. Here we come. Nami had already assembled the weather stick and stepped over it in 2 steps.
Tornado weather. Boom. 2 toy pigeons shoot out from both ends of the weather stick. As the rotation begins, the telescopic spring quickly wraps Miss Christmas Merry. Together with Vivi's chains, the 2 women worked together to pull her out of the hole. Boom. With the power of rotation, the weather rod was launched and crashed into the stone wall along with Miss Merry Christmas. A semicircular hole was created in the hard stone wall, but the enemy had not yet lost consciousness and was trying to escape with trembling claws. Boom. Nami threw out the last section of the weather stick in her hand, hitting Miss Merry Christmas mole right in the head, adding the final blow. Seeing that the enemy fainted, Nami couldn't help but slumped on the ground. It was not so much physical fatigue, but more mental fatigue. Great.
That's awesome Nami, HMPH, it wouldn't have been so smooth without you. The two girls were making love under the moon, and the rough man Cobra arrived in time, his tone full of the father's self-blame and pride for his daughter. Vivi, you must have suffered a lot outside, right? Father. The battlefield here is over, and the battlefield elsewhere is approaching its end. With Chopper and Yaga working together, it is not easy to deal with Mr. 4. That natural strength and baseball bat put a lot of pressure on them. In order to create an opportunity, Chopper ate the blue wave ball and used his strength to strengthen the head on confrontation with Mr. 4, creating an opportunity for Yaga. Chopper didn't have much combat experience and suffered a lot of injuries due to his carelessness. Mr. 4 also had many wounds on his body caused by Yaga. Finally, Chopper found an opportunity and knocked off Mr. 4's baseball bat. Taking advantage of his imbalance, Chopper hit him in the abdomen with a hoof. Mr. 4 couldn't help but bend down. Yaga behind him jumped up and pierced his chest with a sword. At this point, Mr. 4 and his partner Miss Merry Christmas are all gone. The Palace team completed the mission of this trip. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 121 The Actions of Shadow Clone Number 4. After the Palace battlefield ended, Shadow Clone Number 2 asked Cobra to find the Dachshund cannon. He still doesn't know whether that thing is a dachshund that ate the cannon fruit or a cannon that ate the dachshund fruit. Judging from the fact that it was turned into a cannon after being transformed into a cannon by hypnosis, the latter was more likely, which undoubtedly aroused the interest of Shadow Clone Number 2. The combination of devil fruit and items he had tried before was unsuccessful. If you can find it, you can know what its true form is by extracting its soul. The stairs on the stone wall specially designed for climbing could support several people, and Shadow Clone Number 2 simply dissipated on its own. The Palace team is completely safe, and there are still some traitors in the King's army who are not a concern. The time is approaching 6 o'clock, and there is still 1 hour before the Utopia project starts. At this time, the sun had risen, and Shin and Luffy finally saw the bustling rainy land. Unlike the slightly backward rapeseed flowers and the abandoned Aruma, the citizens here are more appropriately dressed, the streets are full of hawkers, and everyone's face is filled with smiles. This place itself is an oasis. There is no need to worry about water resources. Crocodile, the hero who fights pirates, is here. There is no need to worry about pirates. The luxurious rain banquet will attract many foreign tourists, and even the surrounding vendors will make a lot of money. Brother in the straw hat, would you like a golden apple? You can live for thousands of years if you eat it. Really, it's amazing. Among the numerous vendors, there will always be 1 or 2 pieces of mouse droppings that specialize in deceiving foreign tourists, such as a certain boy who looks silly in a straw hat. Shin, buy one. No, we're here to do business. But you can live for thousands of years, that's a lie. Nani. It's actually a lie. Alas, Shin helplessly dragged Luffy forward, who was turning back 3 times. When would his captain have the IQ of a normal person? He had received the news from Shadow Clone Number 2 and learned that everything was going well with the Palace team. This way he can fight with peace of mind. With Zoro and Sanji in the Rapeseed team, he is still very relieved. Also receiving news from Shadow Clone Number 2 was Shadow Clone Number 4 who had stayed here before. At this time, he couldn't help but feel a headache. He who had been staying here knew that Marine's party had also come here, including the Soot Head. Sorry, no more fun. What are you talking about, you bastard? I can definitely win this one. Sister, you lost all night. Now is the time for my fortune to change. Stop right here. Ignoring the obstruction of the short-haired woman behind him, Shadow Clone Number 4 walked out of the rain feast. Shichibukai and Marine are barely on the same side, and that Ashhead is hostile to me. It's really troublesome. I remember there was a big scorpion in that position, right? Wrap your winnings in a ball of earth and throw it under a palm tree. Through the bustling crowd, Shadow Clone Number 4 ran towards the pile of stones where Robin had been interrogated before. If you control a beast, it will be much easier to lure Smoker away from here. Number 4 did not think about dispelling it by himself and letting the main body create a new shadow clone. He did not consume much chakra in the previous actions, but he could still do it if it was just a fight. The only flaw is that Smoker can realize that he is a shadow clone and may not follow him. However, fighting in the city will obviously cause harm to civilians, so he should take the initiative to follow him. Following the previous path, Shadow Clone Number 4 found a dark purple scorpion and successfully controlled it with Sharingan. Riding it to the outskirts of the Rainland, Shadow Clone dispelled the transformation technique. Uncle, do you know where the Marine smoking a cigar is? Ah, in the water shop in front, thank you. The uncle was startled by the giant scorpion and pointed the direction tremblingly. Unlike the sneaky pirates, Smoker's arrival is so grand that he can ask anyone for information. Riding a giant scorpion, Shadow Clone Number 4 rushed towards the water store. It's really scary. Do you want to inform Lord Crocodile? It's not good for such a big scorpion to enter the city. The uncle wiped the sweat from his forehead. He had not seen such a big beast for a long time, having lived in the rainy land all year round. Not long after, Shadow Clone Number 4 passed by him again riding a scorpion. The difference was that this time the scorpion ran very fast. At the same time, a white smoke followed closely, accompanied by a roar. Damn Uchiha. What a clever trap, that's right. Under the rain banquet, the secret base of the sand crocodile, Shin and Luffy were imprisoned in a prison made by sea stone. You and I lamented the insidiousness of the sand crocodile, and how they could think of such a clever trap. Not long ago, the two of them continued to move towards the rain feast in the center of the city. The building was very conspicuous, like a crocodile lying on top of a pyramid. Except for Zoro, I believe no one will be unable to find a place. This is indeed the base camp of Sand Crocodile, and there are countless agents from Baroque works on the streets. Shin didn't pay attention to these miscellaneous fish. This battle was about a head-on breakthrough. And Crocodile naturally learned of the arrival of the two from his subordinates. The entrance to the rain feast, is this welcoming us? No, it's more likely that there are traps on both sides. What a cunning Sand Crocodile. Welcome. We are pirates, we must go to the right. The hedgehog, who thought he had seen through the trap, had a confident smile on his face, but the floor beneath them suddenly split. This is the VIP channel specially instructed by the store manager, please come in. The two of them walked in without fear. The scene inside was not that big, but there was still a man in a suit who came forward to greet them. When they reached the end of the passage, they encountered a fork in the road. Luffy was about to run to the right in a hurry, but Shin grabbed the rash captain and frowned, thinking about which direction to go. It can be said that the cards are full for the two of them, and Shin's shadow clone has never seen such a big scene when he was here. Crocodile doesn't know Luffy's character, so he definitely wouldn't have expected that Luffy would choose the pirate side. That Sand Crocodile guy, don't think that I won't beat him up just like this. Yuyan is surrounded by lakes and connected to the outside by a long bridge. At this time, there are many welcoming people standing on both sides of the long bridge. The trap was neither on the left nor on the right, but in the middle of the fork in the road, and the two fell into this prison made of sea stone. But this trap is too crude. Anyone with a normal IQ knows that he cannot choose the pirate side. The sign on the left says VIP, and the sign on the right says pirates. On the left is the hostess in a formal dress, and on the right is the welcome boy in a suit, shouting in unison. But it's also possible that he did the opposite, and the VIP was the trap. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 122 The Formal Encounter with the Sand Crocodile and the Unexpected Enemy. I never thought you would fall into such a trap. In addition to Shin and Luffy, the owner of this secret room is naturally here as well. He has a sloppy head, a long transverse scar on his face, an earring on his right ear, and a gold hook on his left hand. He is wearing a black fur coat and an orange plaid trousers underneath. Sleeve shirt, Sand Crocodile, Crocodile. He sat on the chair and looked at the two of them like a monkey. Hey, you bastard. Let's fight it out. Luffy grabbed the railing in front of him and shouted, but in the blink of an eye he lost strength. Standing next to the Sand Crocodile, Robin explained. That's a prison made of sea stone mixed in. It can be said to be solidified seawater. Anyone with abilities will lose their strength as long as they touch it. There's no need to tell them so much. Sand Crocodile lit his cigar and looked for the letter. The mysterious ninja with a bounty of 50 million, I thought you would be smarter. Huh? Seeing that there was no letter in the cell, Crocodile subconsciously used observation haki. The illusion was broken instantly, and letter was still standing there. Ha ha ha, what a strange ability, Crocodile laughed and said. Clones, transformations, flames, thunder and lightning, and this kind of illusion ability that cannot be seen through without seeing, hearing, and seeing. I have never seen a demon fruit power with so many abilities. 50 million is too low for you. Following a captain who is naturally stupid really buries your abilities. Do you want to join me? I can give you power, fame, and wealth. No, Shin is my partner. Before he could accept the rejection, Luffy shouted first, grabbed the railing again without much memory, and fell down weakly. Shin pulled the embarrassed captain back and began to form seals. Sorry, my captain has already refused on my behalf. Besides, I'm not an esper, I'm a ninja. Shin clapped his hands on the ground. Earth-style earthquake core. Seismic core, the standard ninjutsu of the Iwagakure ninja, can change the height of the horizontal plane, and can raise or land a piece of ground. Only the surrounding railings of the prison were mixed with sea stone. Crocodile did not have the luxury to make a special floor with sea stone. As the chakra is transported, the ground inside the prison and under the fence begins to drop, forming a deep pit. The fence is connected to the device above and stops at the top. Shin and Luffy jumped out of the pit and escaped from prison. The smile on Crocodile's face transferred to Robin's face. What a strange ability, are you kidding me, Nico Robin? No, I'm just feeling a little emotional, phew. A kunai shot through Crocodile's head, turn into sand? Luffy was surprised that Shin's kunai passed through it instead of piercing it. The upper half of the Sand Crocodile's head turned into sand, and then slowly gathered and returned to its original shape. I am a Logia sand fruit user, this kind of attack is useless to me. There was still a cigar in his mouth, and Crocodile was still sitting on the chair, completely ignoring the two of them. Rubber, pistol. Luffy punched Crocodile in the abdomen, but the opponent made no attempt to dodge. You can't hit a guy who doesn't understand people's words with this kind of attack, eh. Crocodile was punched in the abdomen and the chair beneath him was sent flying against the wall. Armament Haki? At this time, Crocodile lost his previous indifference, and there was a hint of shock in his eyes. I didn't expect someone to control Haki in the first half of the Grand Line. I really underestimated you. Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy didn't say anything. Armament Haki emerged from his fists again and he rushed forward. Rubber rubber, rocket launcher. Boom! Crocodile raised the golden hook in his left hand to defend himself, and used his free right hand to grab Luffy's neck. Become a mummy for me. Luffy retreated in time. Crocodile's lower body turned into sand and chased after him. His right hand was about to touch Luffy's body. Don't forget me, bastard. Water-style water dragon bomb technique. A not-so-thick water dragon charged straight at Crocodile, and he could only change his tactics and aim his right hand at the water dragon. Like a bottomless pit, the water dragon was completely absorbed by Crocodile's right hand. Confidence rejoiced. As expected, Luffy, who had retreated, returned to Shin's side, and the two faced Crocodile side by side again. Listen up, Luffy, this guy's weakness is water. Really? He can't even dodge Shadow Clone's fire and lightning. Even if his whole body is shattered into sand, he will recover again. But this time he had his hands free to absorb the water dragon bomb. Sand will solidify when it encounters water, right? As the letter continued, Crocodile's face became more and more ugly, and he said gloomily. I take back my previous comment, you are smarter than I thought. This sentence also confirmed Shin's guess that the balance of victory was already close to their side. Luffy doesn't have a lot of weapon colors in total, so he can't fight for a long time, but it will be different if it rains. The Perception Ninja Technique, the Rain Tiger Freedom Technique, does not require perception. This time, it only needs rain to cover the battlefield. But without giving Shin a chance to use his ninjutsu, Crocodile already sensed that something was wrong. A Straw Hat Luffy who can arm colors, and an Uchiha Shin who can control water flow, he may not be a match for the two. There is no time to wait slowly for the Utopia plan to be completed to seize the country. He wants to go to Albana now and force out the whereabouts of Pluton from Cobra. But before leaving, you need to stop the two people in front of you. He raised his right hand, and a small tornado spun in his hand. Open black lens bracket Shalon close black lens bracket. The small tornado came to the center of the field in an instant, and suddenly grew in size, making Luffy and Shin unable to open their eyes. Taking this opportunity, Crocodile covered the wall with his right hand, activated his ability, and the surrounding walls cracked, and the cracks became larger and larger under the impact of the water flow. The secret room is underground, surrounded by lakes. Now, these lakes are swarming in and are about to flood the secret room. After destroying the passage directly connected to the outside world, Crocodile took Robin away from the hole where Luffy and the two fell down, and destroyed the ceiling above to cover the hole. Only Shin and Luffy were left in the scene. Don't you have the arrogance of a strong man? Just run away. Shin couldn't help but complain while carrying Luffy. The sandstorm has dissipated, all exits have been destroyed, and there are lakes all around. Luffy, as an ability user, cannot enter or leave, so he can only use a more violent method to leave. Luffy, hold me tight. Luffy used his limbs to secure himself firmly to Shin's body. He didn't want to get soaked in the water. Water-style white dragon. A dragon's head protrudes from the water and holds the two of them in its mouth. It is controlled by chakra. There is a circular cavity in the dragon's mouth. As long as Shin stands on the water with chakra and Luffy hangs on Shin, neither of them will invade the water. The water dragon went straight up to the ceiling, passed through the obstacle that was both the ceiling and the floor, and reached the first floor of the rain banquet. I bumped into someone. Sorry, sister. The water dragon's momentum continued unabated, continuing upwards, passing through the crocodile statue at the top of the pyramid, and reaching the sky outside. Found it. There, looking far into the distance, the sand crocodile had just run out of the rain and seemed to have been stopped by a bird. Tempest Kick Thorn. A blue-white slash turned into a spike shape, attacking the two people in the dragon's head from below at an extremely fast speed. Nobu controlled the water dragon to move forward. The slash originally aimed at the dragon's head pierced the dragon's neck, and the ninjutsu was forced to cancel. Seeing another slash coming from below, Shin could only grab Luffy and throw him in the direction of Crocodile. Don't worry, just wait for me to deal with this enemy and come over. Out of trust in the letter, Luffy nodded vigorously. He adjusted his posture in the air, stretched out his arms to grab a palm tree, and rushed towards Crocodile's position like Spider-Man. The letter did not land inside the Yuyan. The entire Yuyan was shaped like a pyramid, and the attacker was standing on the side of the pyramid. When he saw the attacker, Shin hurriedly closed Sharingan and couldn't help but exclaimed. It's you. Ads by Bid Gear. Chapter 123 Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Dole. Looks like you know me, kid. No, I don't know. There was a trace of cold sweat on Shin's forehead, and the person who appeared in front of him was none other than the short-haired lady who lost a lot of money playing cards with number 3 and number 4. She has short, fluffy hair, round earrings, a collar with thorns around her neck, and wears a black sleeveless vest with her navel exposed, and black trousers on her lower body, which makes her legs even slender, because she is wearing flat shoes in the desert. I was promoted to Vice Admiral a few days ago. Since I will be transferred to New World soon, I took a leave of absence to come here to spend some time. With a cigarette in her mouth, Sister Yu's tone was full of dissatisfaction. I was very unhappy when I kept losing when I played cards with those two guys 2 days ago. I just managed to win.
You bastard just ruined my luck in coming back to life.
Also, who do you call the eldest sister? Uh-huh. The figure of the short-haired woman disappeared instantly. Shin felt a chill coming from his left waist and hurriedly took 2 steps back, narrowly avoiding the short-haired woman's whipping leg. Sharingan, who had been closed for fear of revealing his identity, opened his eyes again and stared at the woman in front of him. That kind of speed was faster than any enemy he had ever seen.
I was just a little skeptical before, but now I can confirm it.
The short-haired woman put down the cigarette in her mouth and looked at the pair of Sharingan, East Blue's rookie, the mysterious ninja, Uchiha Shin. Although I am on vacation now, since I have encountered it, I will take it easily. Remember, the person who arrested you is the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Dole. Uh-huh. Dole's figure disappeared again in front of Shin's eyes, but this time Sharingan saw her movement trajectory. Didn't you agree to arrest him, you bastard? Dole stretched out his right index finger and aimed at his head. Nobu leaned back and began to form seals with his hands. While avoiding the attack, the ninjutsu was also ready. Open black lens bracket fire style fire dragon bullet technique close black lens bracket. Dole reacted quickly and retreated to avoid the attack. He raised his leg and slashed to cut through the fireball, but a pair of blood-red eyes followed closely behind. Open black lens bracket illusion Sharingan close black lens bracket. Seeing Dole stunned for a moment, Shin thought the illusion was successful and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But I didn't expect that Dole was just stunned for a moment, and soon raised his leg again and struck out with a slash. Shin dodged sideways and frowned. This was the third one, not including the determined she-male. In the face of powerful enemies, the role of illusions is getting smaller and smaller. It's a really special ability, but unfortunately, it's just useless in front of observation Haki. Yes, I understand. Shin said helplessly, why does every guy who cracks the illusion have to say this? My current persona is that of a hero fighting to save the country. Can you let me go to save the country? Do you think I believe it? I don't think you believe it. It's good to know. Dole struck again and turned into an eagle to attack Shin. Open black lens bracket tempest kick eagle strike close black lens bracket. This time Shin chose to take off, and at the same time he made crazy seals. With the use of ninjutsu, the whole person flew up. Open black lens bracket earth style super light heavy rock technique close black lens bracket. Then he flew out of the city, trying to get rid of this annoying marine vice admiral. Open black lens bracket moonwalk close black lens bracket. There was a bang 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 sound in the air behind him. Looking back, he saw Dole walking in the air like stepping on air stairs. Don't even think about running away. If you don't chase me, I won't run away. Open black lens bracket flying finger pistol gun wave close black lens bracket boom. Like a ball of highly compressed air bullets, it rushes forward with the sound of breaking through the air. Shin raised his altitude and the gun wave passed by his chest. Your ability is so annoying. Then give it a good experience. Then the two started a strange air battle, with Shin flying in front and Dole chasing behind. The two of them would stop from time to time. You would spit out a fireball, I would make a slash, you would spit out a wind blade, and I would shoot a spear wave. Because it was flying in the air, the separated shadow clone still needed to cast the super light heavy rock technique again, and Shin did not use the shadow clone to stop it. Instead, he took Dole and flew to the desert area east of the Rainland, lowered the altitude, and separated 2 shadow clone to run on the ground. At the same time, he turned back and started to form seals. Moonwalk is not as convenient as the super light heavy rock technique. If flying at low altitude, it is more suitable to run, so Dole fell to the ground. Open black lens bracket fire style how long fire technique close black lens bracket open black lens bracket wind style great breakthrough close black lens bracket. Compound ninjutsu fire dragon wind control. The compound ninjutsu that had not appeared for a long time was used again, and the power was not reduced. The huge fire dragon opened its mouth and bit the opponent. Moonwalk was used, and Dole wanted to cross the fire dragon to pursue the main body, but she didn't expect that the fire dragon could change its direction and was about to hit her. Annoying ability. Dole curled his lips, wrapped his arms around his legs, and used the skills of Moonwalk and Tempest Kick at the same time. Open black lens bracket Tempest Kick tap close black lens bracket every time she steps into the air. Not only will her height increase, but she will also shoot small crescent-shaped slashes from her feet to attack the fire dragon. Dole's momentum continued unabated, and she still held on to her faith. Seeing that he could not get rid of the enemy, Shin decided to deal with this annoying vice admiral first. Immediately descend the height and return to the ground. Open black lens bracket earth style earth dragon bomb close black lens bracket the ground rose up to form a faucet made of soil, and countless rocks were sprayed from its mouth towards Duoer, who was still in the air. The large number made Dole unable to dodge for a while, so he had to lift his feet again. Open black lens bracket Tempest Kick crescent moon close black lens bracket a huge half-moon shaped slash blocked all the clods of soil and went straight to the ninja on the ground. Shin has no intention of hardwired connection, there is obviously a better choice. Earth style earth dragon invisibility technique.
It is said to be invisible, but it is just hiding from the ground. The desert environment also eliminates the step of turning soil into sand.
Shin quickly advanced underground and came to Dole's predicted foothold. Quickly rising up, a pair of hands reached out from the ground, trying to grab Dole's feet and pull her down. Don't be too young to see and smell sex, kid. Dole naturally discovered the location of the letter. She did not choose to drop it directly, but stayed in the air with the help of Moonwalk. The letter came out of the soil without stopping to speak. I'm so stupid when I play cards, don't be so smart now. Open black lens bracket wind style vacuum sphere close black lens bracket open black lens bracket flying finger pistol star close black lens bracket. Bang bang bang. The two attacks collided in the air, and the airflow surged, blowing up countless amounts of gravel. Dole swooped in, wanting to engage in close combat with the hedgehog. Shin also had this intention. The long-range escape method seemed to be of little use, and he could only rely on piercing attacks such as Chidori. But before that, a layer of insurance must be provided. Open black lens bracket earth style earth spear close black lens bracket chakra circulates in the body, hardening the skin to increase defense and attack capabilities. At the same time, the skin color is gradually changing to black. What the hell are these names? Nobu couldn't help complaining that the effects of the ninjutsu didn't match the name at all. Now is not the time to care about this, the enemy is already approaching. Open black lens bracket lightning style Chidori close black lens bracket lightning flashed out of Shin's right hand, and Dole's right hand was covered in military color, with his index and middle fingers stretched out. Boom! The two attacks collided in the air, making a thunderous sound, and they were locked in a stalemate for a while. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 134 The story that Shin and the short-haired eldest sister have to tell. The Chidori collided with the finger pistol covered in armament colors. In the end, Shin took a step back and flew backwards. What kind of strange power is this? How could that thin body burst out with such power? Nobu's face was solemn. Chidori couldn't break through the defense smoothly, and he was slightly inferior in the strength test. Open black lens bracket earth style fist rock technique close black lens bracket stabilizing his body and standing again. Shin's right hand was covered by rock, and chakra surged, making the rock harder. Boom! It was also a contact between right hands, but this time Dole took the first step and ran out of strength, then jumped back to lose all his strength. I underestimated you, kid. I thought you were the weak type. Both in each other, I didn't expect you to be a strange girl. That's because you have too little knowledge. Dole relaxed his hands, seemingly just to balance his body, and stepped quickly with his slender legs. That fast-moving move. Sharingan turned wildly, locking the enemy's movement trajectory. I saw Dole quickly coming to the right side of Shin and raising his right foot at the same time. Don't be so obsessed with me for the rest of your life, you bastard. Chakra concentrated on the right side of the waist and abdomen, and abruptly received a whip kick. The right fist is blocking the bottom, and the seemingly relaxed hands are already ready. The finger pistol is aimed at the vital point. Open black lens bracket Tien Cry close black lens bracket Shui Qianban, as small as a needle, was aimed at Dole's eyebrows. In a hurry, she could only lower her head to avoid it. After exchanging two moves, Shin took the initiative to retreat and once again widened the distance. A few drops of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Almost, his golden egg was about to be attacked. The rock layer on his right fist quickly dissipated. It was strong enough but unable to form a seal. He wanted to try another ninjutsu. Open black lens bracket earth style gangly style technique close black lens bracket he slapped the ground with his hands. The gravel beneath him was constantly shaking, and a small giant made of rocks broke out of the ground. The rock giant is made of rocks made by chakra. Although it looks silly, it can attack and defend. The letter can also condense it to a larger size, but 3 meters is enough now, and any larger will become a target.
Can I still summon my subordinates? Dole looked at Gang Li Shi, his eyes filled with contemplation of water flow, flight, flames, illusions, wind, and soil.
There are also clones, transformations and thunder and lightning given by the intelligence department. She has never seen such an all-powerful guy. Kid, do you want to join Marine? Sorry, I'm a prisoner with a bounty on my head now. It's a small matter, there are so many people with the same name. Okay, I'll join. Real? Dole's face was filled with joy and a smile appeared on her lips.
By recruiting such a genius to Marine, my vacation will surely be longer, right?
Really, really? Shin's attitude was sincere and he kept nodding. Let's leave your contact information first. I'll visit you in 3 days and return to Marine Base with you. My phone number is... Dole suddenly realized something was wrong and his smile disappeared. Kid, you want to get away from me and run away, right? So smart. Boom. He strode forward in gangly style, carrying a huge amount of force, and punched Duoer. Dodging with his back body, Dole moved his 5 fingers together, and the flying finger pistol continued to shoot out. Bang bang bang. The khaki giant gradually turns into a black giant. This is the effect of Earth-style Earth Spear. The nonsense section of the letter just now is intended to combine the two. A shadow clone was separated to take over the control of Gang Li Shi. Shin's body supported the Earth Spear and also launched an attack. No one understands oneself better than oneself. Shadow Clone controls Ganglishi and Xinqiang as if they are of one mind and have a perfect tacit understanding. Duoer's 6 postures moved together, entangled between the two, and the attacks of the arm color were blocked by the Gangly posture. The flying finger pistol could not break through the obstruction of the two and directly attacked Shadow Clone. No, it's not good for me to keep entangled. The thoughts in his mind were spinning rapidly, and Dole quickly thought of a way.
Open black lens bracket moonwalk close black lens bracket. A difficult one-horse move temporarily forced the two of them back, and Dole took the opportunity to get into the air.
There is only one person who can fly, he can do it.
Her toes showed an armed look again, ready to kick someone hard in the waist.
The consumption of armed colors is almost the same, and physical strength alone cannot break this kid's defense. The next step is to make a quick decision. Dole's face was solemn, and she only had a preliminary grasp of the weapon color.
However, to her surprise, the letter did not rise into the air. Instead, the Shadow Clone soared to Ganglishi's side.
Open black lens bracket Earth style super light heavy rock technique close black lens bracket putting his hands on the back of Ganglishi. Shadow Clone flew up together with Ganglishi. Eat my punch. The rock giant once again waved its black fist and attacked. Huh, another kind of strange clone? Dodging the attack, Dole frowned. Not only because things didn't go as she expected, but also because she noticed a few more shadow clones on the ground. But she didn't have a chance to think. The frequency of Gangly's attacks increased significantly, and the fists came like raindrops. Dole stepped through the air and reached the sky above Gangly's head. I saw Shadow Clone put his hands on the back of Gangly, maintaining the ultra-light heavy rock technique. It's okay to remotely command this big guy to attack, but it's a bit difficult to remotely control this Claude to perform the super light heavy rock technique. You don't have to deal with that dirt guy, just kill the controller. Focusing on the enemy, he turned around, swooped down, and made a sword finger with his right hand to penetrate the Shadow Clone's head. Shadow Clone also guessed her plan and chose the most inefficient straight line downward. He knows what he will do. Shin rushed up from the ground, passed by the Shadow Clone, and was released from the slave position. Electric light appeared in his right hand, and along with the chirping of 1,000 birds, it collided with Dole's sword finger again. Although the two were in a stalemate, Shin was still slightly at a disadvantage, but there was a smile on Shin's lips. The Shadow Clone lifted off the gangslide position and took off again. Lying flat on its back, it stretched out its hand and pressed on Dole's abdomen. Open black lens bracket Earth style super heavy rock technique close black lens bracket gravity supported the three of them, and they quickly began to fall. Shin's body turned over, and his whole body was pressed against her back. His hands were wrapped around Dole's abdomen, controlling her arms so that she could not attack, and his legs were wrapped around Dole's legs. Being tied up by Luffy so many times is not completely useless. At least he knows what postures can make people unable to move. The three of them now have very weird shapes. Shadow Clone is lying on his back, Dole is upside down, and Shin is still upside down with her back close to her. Formed A. 1. What are you going to do? We will all be hit by it. Dole exclaimed. She saw the black stone slab on the ground and the 3 Shadow Clone around the stone slab. What should I do with you, eldest sister? Who? Dot are you calling? Eldest sister. The Shadow Clone that used the weighted rock technique was forced to disband, and the gravity blessing on Dole was also eliminated. The distance between the two people can be said to be 0, so Dole could carefully hear the smiling voice. A huge depression was created in the black earth. Fortunately, the earth flow wall made by the Shadow Clone was thick enough. Regardless of her physical injuries, she struggled to get up. There was no defense in her current position. Boom. It was noon at this time, and a hedgehog's head poked over and thoughtfully shielded her from the dazzling sunlight. You were hit on it. She could only adjust her body shape from inverted to lying flat to slow down the damage she suffered. There is still a smile on the corner of his mouth that is annoying no matter how you look at it. The collision between the two is not pleasant, but it can restore the letter to its normal falling speed. The height she climbed just now was not low. If she fell from this height, she would still hit the ground head first, which would only lead to a lose-lose situation. No, however, a familiar feeling soon came over, and the head that had just been raised was once again forced into close contact with the ground. And Dole wanted to reach out and attack the Shadow Clone, but the ground was close at hand. Asshole guy. Release Dole's limbs, and the super light heavy rock technique operates at full strength, fighting against the super heavy rock technique. One slows down gravity, and the other increases gravity. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 135 Forced Evacuation and Water Cannon Letter. Before. The person I played cards with. Was you too? Dole gritted her teeth and asked this sentence. It was rare for anyone to call her eldest sister. Except for the hedgehog in front of her and the 2 guys who won her money 2 days ago. Shin nodded. This was nothing he dared not admit. As for what to do with Dole, naturally, kill him. It has nothing to do with my former self, nor does it have anything to do with Luffy and the others, and they are still enemies. Since the super heavy rock technique needs to be maintained, the main body of the letter is inconvenient to handle. The 3 Shadow Clones still standing around the stone can naturally act as executioners. But before they could step forward to take action, a huge wave of memories came, making them cover their heads involuntarily. Including Shin's body was also affected, almost dispersing the super heavy rock technique. Shadow Clone number 4. Why did it disappear at this critical moment? Before he could sort out his memory, another memory made him frown again. Fortunately, this memory was not too much, and the super heavy rock technique could still be maintained stably. The 3 surrounding shadow clones did not have such endurance, and they dissipated with bang bang bang. Also dissipated at the same time was the shadow clone responsible for guarding the ship. Fortunately, the letter guarding the ship was lying down most of the time and did not bring any more mental shock. The shadow clone of Rapeseed Team. Why did you choose it at this time? Shin frowned and couldn't help but complain. But after he sorted out his memories, he understood why the 2 shadow clones disappeared one after another. After getting rid of the memory before meeting Smoker, Shin controlled the giant scorpion to lead Smoker out of the city, and he happened to be nearby. Smoker's sense of sight noticed that someone was fighting over there. At the same time, Shadow Clone number 4 also received the Shadow Clone memory of releasing Fire Dragon Wind Control. Seeing that Smoker was about to leave him and go to the main body, Shadow Clone number 4 had no choice but to start a head-on battle with Smoker. Shocked by the dissolution of the Shadow Clone that released Super Heavy Rock Technique, Shadow Clone number 4 couldn't help but froze for a moment, and was defeated by Smoker, who took the opportunity to catch up with him and beat him with a punch. At the same time, Smoker is also coming here, Uchiha. Before anyone arrived, the roar filled with resentment came over first. Nobu has a headache, a suppressed dole beneath him, and a pirated Tobirama in the distance. It seems like your situation isn't that good either. She didn't know why the hedgehog suddenly had a headache, and she didn't know who made that roar. But the enemy worried that it would be fine if he was happy, and an expression of gloating appeared on the suppressed dole's face. It's not very good, sister, it's all your fault. Shin sighed. Now that there is no shadow clone, he still has to maintain the super heavy rock technique. It seems that this enemy cannot be solved. When that soot head comes over later, you tell him that the sand crocodile is going to overthrow this country. If you don't believe it, ask him to go to Albana and ask the king for details. Seeing the white smoke in the distance getting closer and closer, we can't delay it any longer. The delivery volume of chakra continues to increase, and the gravity exerted on Dole also continues to increase. He couldn't kill her directly, but he could still seriously injure the short-haired woman. Nobu stopped releasing the ninjutsu until he heard a few clicks. Uneasy, he quickly kicked Dole's legs twice. Then he flew away from here again, barely avoiding Smoker's white fist. Stop chasing me, that's your marine, hurry up and wash the floor. Damn. Hearing Uchiha's farewell words, Smoker stopped even though he was unwilling to do so. Dole Rear Admiral, didn't you say you were on vacation? Cough. Cough, it's Vice Admiral, I need medical personnel. The gravity on his body dissipated, and blood flowed from the corners of Dole's mouth, looking embarrassed. 2 ribs, left arm, and both legs were all broken. This time I was careless. Next time I must hang up this annoying brat and whip him severely. It seemed like he was trying to paraphrase something just now. Ashhead? Is this the person in front of me? Looking at Smoker's hair, Dole confirmed that he was the so-called Ashhead. You're Smoker, right? What's going on in this country right now? Is it true that Uchiha just said that Sand Crocodile is going to subvert this country? Nani? Smoker was shocked. Although he had doubts, he had not found out what the Sand Crocodile was going to do. Smoker then used his abilities to take Dole back to the city for treatment, and on the way they chatted about the information they each had. It was basically Smoker who was talking. Dole was completely unhappy that the card game he wanted to win was interrupted, so he rushed up and started a fight with Shin, and ended up with a broken bone. At this time, Shin received a call from Usopp of Rapeseed Team. Moses, here is the letter. Letter, you're okay, that's great. Have peace of mind, have you contacted the rebels there? Without my clone, can they still believe what you say?
Don't worry, the leader of the rebel army is by my side. I'll just make a call to Nami later.
What about you? Have you defeated Crocodile? Not sure yet, I'm on my way to Luffy's place. You must win beautifully. I defeated that thorny girl without any injuries. Ha ha ha, cough cough. Okay, I don't think I know how many holes you have in your body now, right? Go and get healed, you idiot. Click. After hanging up the phone, Shin continued to rush in the direction of Luffy. On the way, he sorted out what Zoro and the 3 had learned from this battle. The time is around 6 o'clock in the morning, Rapeseed Team.
Location Centaur River Channel, the back of a giant catfish.
Shadow Clone looked at Usopp helplessly. Why should I be tied up too? Maybe why did you take it off? Usopp complained, wrapping a bandage on Shadow Clone's left forearm. When I first learned about Mr. 2's fruit ability, in order to prevent him from becoming one of his friends, Zoro proposed to draw a cross on everyone's left arm and tie a bandage on the outside as a sign of partnership. Shadow Clone originally existed, but when controlling the giant catfish, it was inevitable to go into the water, and the bandage became wet. In addition, since he was just a Shadow Clone, and there were sealing spells on his hands and arms that Mr. 2 could not imitate, he took off the bandages directly. I'm just a shadow clone. If you meet me after we're separated, you'll be able to punch me. If it's disbanded, it's real. If it's not, it's fake. Don't use such irresponsible methods. I'm still waiting for you to protect me. Shadow clone, who was sitting cross-legged, felt a chill on his back and hurriedly ducked down to avoid the punch.
Quote. Green algae head. What do you mean? Didn't you say I could punch you? I think you're seeking revenge, right? Sexy cook. Go ahead and beat him up.
Don't order me, you bastard. When I dissipate, the catfish under my feet will disappear, and the speed will slow down. I may not be able to keep up with the plan of Utopia. The rebel army and the king's army may fight again. What will happen to Vivi then?
Sanji, you don't want Vivi to be sad, right? Really?
Sanji silently stood between Shadow Clone and Zoro.
Zoro didn't really plan to fight, he just moved his body.
Open black lens bracket TN cry close black lens bracket Shadow Clone, who has bodyguards, is very arrogant and spits water at Zoro, who is preparing for a truce. Asshole. Forget it, Zoro, let's spare the hedgehog just this once. Open black lens bracket TN cry close black lens bracket. You guy, forget it, Zoro. Sanji was punched in the chin while he was still trying to break up the fight. Asshole green algae head. If you don't hide away, I'll beat you up too, you sexy cook. Didn't you already take action? You were too slow to hide, you weak chef. What did you say? On the back of this not-so-wide catfish, the two of them started fighting with bastard punches. Shadow Clone hit aside and turned into a water gun, spitting at Zoro and occasionally accidentally hurting Sanji. Usopp was squeezed into a corner, looking at the scene in front of him, his heart filled with despair. Can we still make it in time?